Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. One Piece. Opening 9 Tales Bombards Mariejois. Chapter 1. In the past, there was a demon fox that caused harm to the world. It has 9 tails. If the fox shakes, landslides and tsunamis will follow. The people suffered so much that they summoned the marine. A marine named Garp also joined the battle and finally defeated him, so he was called a marine hero. The Grand Line, the Sabayati archipelago in the first half, is a group of islands formed by the presence of the world's largest mangrove, Yalchiman Mangrove, near naval headquarters, whose roots are always exposed on the water. The whole island is composed of 79 trees, and the numbers are also divided into several areas by 1 to 79 carved on the trees. Most of the numbers from 1 to 29 are human traffickers, which is an absolute lawless zone. The darkness left over from the history of the world spread openly in this area, with a vomitous stench that made most ordinary people with justice and the world unable to breathe. And the ones who can stand at the top of this fetid shit are the celestial dragons. Ah, Chadwick Saint. Welcome. In front of a huge auction house, on the green grass, the staff in charge of the auction knelt on the ground, and flatteringly said to a celestial dragons in front of him who was wearing a gas mask and dripping from his nose, "In the venue I hope you will allow us not to kneel. It doesn't matter, otherwise how will this auction be carried out?" Celestial dragons, Chadwick Saint said indifferently, "There shouldn't be all useless goods in this time, right?" "Ah, of course not. In fact, there is a rare talent with devil fruit ability in this auction." "Devil fruit?" Saint Chadwick asked. "What ability?" "It's a force that devours emotions and can make people happy and peaceful." "Sounds good." Celestial dragons nodded slightly, and the staff immediately said with some information, "Thank you for your approval, I will take you to the VIP seat." Celestial dragons entering the auction house is naturally a very sensational event, but in the auction house, people don't have to kneel. After the staff respectfully brought celestial dragons to the most comfortable VIP seat, he quietly withdrew and quickly recruited a person beside him. "Hasn't the Genichi guy's ability been figured out? Chadwick Saint is very interested in him. If he finds that the ability is not what I said, we will die." The security personnel hurriedly said, "It should be like this, that's right, under his ability, even those slaves who wanted to riot have become peaceful. Go and confirm again, let him appear last, you must find out what kind of fruit he ate before going out." The staff shouted in a low voice, and the security personnel hurriedly slipped into the backcourt. "Hey, wake up." In a prison, there was a man sitting on the ground casually, with one leg bent and the other straight. He was leaning against the wall behind him, with his head raised slightly, as if he was closing his eyes and meditating. He has black messy short hair, which seems to have not been washed for a long time, and he wears a collar around his neck, which is the proof of slavery. Although it looks like it hasn't been taken care of for a long time, it can still be seen that this is a very handsome man, at least in this world, he can be called very handsome, and his painting style is similar to that of other prisons. People are different. When the security personnel came here, they were a little speechless seeing this man's laid-back look. He had worked here for so many years, and he had never seen someone who could relax so much when he was about to be auctioned off. "Boy, it's time for the auction soon. You are very lucky. Saint Chadwick of Celestial Dragons has taken a fancy to you. Maybe you will be a slave of Celestial Dragons in the future." The security guard opened the door and looked at Genichi coldly. Said, "I really don't know how long you can last by Celestial Dragon's side." Celestial Dragons, the nobles of the world, creatures of almost every race in the world may become their slaves and mounts, and they will usually be ravaged to death by Celestial Dragons soon. And they who do these things don't have to suffer any punishment at all. They are the descendants of the Creator, they are gods. Once attacked, even the Admiral of Naval Headquarters will be dispatched to protect their safety. They have the most arrogant rules of doing things in this world. The slaves around them are just objects for their amusement. Celestial dragons. Hearing what the security personnel said, Genichi slowly opened his eyes. He still put one hand on the knee of the bowed leg. At this moment, he put his hand on the knee a little bit harder to get himself up from the ground, and asked, "So, could it be that the auction is about to come to me?" "That's not true, it's just that you need to test it again in order to let Saint Chadwick understand your ability better." The security guard said that he was about to reach out to pull the chain on his body, but the hand he just stretched out was suddenly slapped by something. You. He looked at Genichi in disbelief. It was naturally the man who took the picture of him just now. How dare this slave resist him? Forget it, Genichi said, a little bored. I've already collected enough of those negative emotions, and there's no point in going any further. I'm also very sorry to keep getting wool from a group of people. He spoke as if he didn't realize his situation at all, leaving the security staff stunned for a while. He really know what you're talking about. What are you doing? He is a slave now. His life is in their hands, and they can execute him at any time. How dare he hit his own hand? How dare you refuse your proposal? How dare you speak so leisurely? Ah, thank you for saying it. Genichi stretched his waist and continued, if you didn't let me absorb so much negative emotion, I wouldn't be able to get such a good start. Hey, what are you talking about? The security guard was angry, and interrupted Genichi directly. Since the beginning, you have been talking on your own. It seems that you still haven't recognized your identity. I will teach you a lesson now. Well, I have a very clear understanding of my identity. Genichi flicked his head and directly dodged the punch thrown by the security personnel. He chuckled, I am not a god, but I am not a slave, let alone a slave of God. In order to express my gratitude to you, let you see a good thing, of course, none of you can say it. He approached the security guard's ear, and said softly, the god in your eyes is about to die. Boom. The security personnel shrank their pupils, and suddenly a huge sense of power descended from the sky at the next moment. There seemed to be a terrifying sense of oppression in the air, which made them almost breathless. Immediately afterwards, the top floor of the auction house suddenly shattered, and everyone inside could only see. A huge eye was looking at them through that gap. That is, what? The wreckage of the building fell from the sky, and a huge void appeared, and above the void was not a bright sky, but a huge and scarlet eye. That eye seems to be filled with endless tyranny, death, resentment, anger. All kinds of chilling emotions arise in everyone's heart. Just looking at it will make you feel as if you have fallen into hell. It is not a creature, but the manifestation of fear. Roar. Suddenly, there was a roar from the outside world, as if the roar was going to reach the whole world. This fragile No was swept up by a hurricane. This is a natural disaster, a demon walking in the world, and with the destruction of the building, the surviving people saw its true face. So huge, probably hundreds of meters in size, the various buildings on the island of Sabayati are so small in front of it, just like the bubbles they can see everywhere on the roadside. Its body is such a huge fox. However, it is a fox with 9 tails. Its whole body is orange, with 9 tails swaying behind it, and it exudes an unparalleled sense of power. No one knows how it appeared, only that it brought endless destruction the moment it appeared. What is this? The security personnel shouted involuntarily, but the next moment ushered in the end, because the 9 tails demon fox took a step forward, and the huge forefoot crushed it to pieces. Under this huge power, only Genichi not affected by any. Fortunately, I caught up. Genichi looked at the dummy data in front of him that only he could see. This is not the ability of Devil Fruit. It looks like a system, but there is no so-called artificial intelligence to respond to his call. As if Devil Fruit has no ability, the problem is that it won't make him afraid of sea water. Positive emotion value, 30. Negative emotion value, 600. Current card, 9 tails demon fox 1 off. That's right, this 9 tails demon fox is his card, a creature that appears under the influence of his abilities. A few days ago, he was just an ordinary person on the earth, but he suddenly traveled to the world of One Piece, and sadly became a slave. When he was desperate, he awakened his own ability. He can collect other people's emotions to strengthen himself. Positive emotions will generate props, and negative emotions will generate character cards. After awakening this ability, he absorbed the emotions of the slaves who were imprisoned with him, and became slaves. Naturally, negative emotions emanated from his body, and it was because the owner of the subsequent auction house found out that in order to test his ability allowed him to directly and forcibly absorb the emotions of everyone in the auction house. As a result, he got a lot of negative emotion points, so he directly drew a card with 100,000 negative emotion points, but he didn't expect to directly draw a bug-level creature like 9 tails. 9 tails demon fox 1 off, a tail beast from the world of Hokage. but the energy cannot be replenished, and 9 tails will disappear when the energy dissipates. After seeing this card, he was ecstatic, because he could obtain 1% of the power of the card characters he drew, which is equivalent to directly owning 1% of the power of 9 tails, although also a one-off, but he added 9 tails and it couldn't be easier to get him out of this bullshit slave trader. It's just that it's too cheap for them to just leave. Although it was only a few days to become a slave, the anger in Genichi's heart towards these slave traders and those powerful people is enough to burn the entire ocean of the world. He wants destroy the lawless zone of the entire Sabayati land. This is not just to vent his anger, but also to gain more benefits. 9 Tails makes a big fuss about the Sabayati archipelago, and there are celestial dragons, so he must be able to get a lot of various emotional points. In the past few days, he has studied his abilities well. His ability will absorb all kinds of emotions that are aimed at him, and divide them into positive and negative. The stronger his strength, the more emotional value he absorbs, and this emotional value is in the thousands, tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands. Millions, tens of millions are used as a cutoff point. The more emotional value is used to draw cards or items, the higher the quality will be. Of course, it is also possible to directly swallow a person's emotions, just like what he did before, but once the emotions in the heart are forcibly swallowed, it is true that a large amount of emotional points can be obtained directly, but the price is that they will no longer be able to get any emotional points from them. Up. He only did this once, so after getting the 9 Tails Demon Fox card, he directly refused to forcefully absorb emotions again. Just let 9 Tails make a fuss. He thought so in his heart. As for himself, there is no need to stay in such a dangerous place like Sabayati. Since there are celestial dragons here, it proves that Admiral will come soon. After a while, this place will become a battlefield between 9 Tails and Admiral. He will definitely stay here was affected. Moreover, with such a powerful ability, I don't know how many people will covet him. He doesn't want to expose himself to the sun, at least his true identity and ability cannot be exposed. Now that he has 1% of the strength of 9 Tails, it is very easy for him to leave this island. Go. And 9 Tails, just stay here and make a big fuss. On the Sabayati archipelago, 9 Tails' few simple actions caused huge damage, and countless buildings collapsed. This is a lawless zone, a place where all kinds of darkness breed, but in the face of greater darkness, there is no ability to resist. Little doll. Even gods have to bow their knees in fear, let alone a celestial dragons with too much snot to hold back. The moment the figure of 9 Tails appeared in front of him, celestial dragon's Chadwick Saint felt a shadow of death coming. He, who had never felt such fear before, became furious and kicked away the slaves beside him. And the guards shouted loudly, "Kill this monster for me. Call naval headquarters for me, I will let this monster be my mount." His guards can be considered quite capable. They were not trampled to death by 9 Tails, but when it comes to dealing with this kind of monster. Wait, what's that in its mouth? Suddenly, someone exclaimed, attracting everyone's attention. I saw a mass of blackness appearing in 9 Tails' mouth. Good, what a terrifying power! Exclamation mark. The dark energy that emerged from the mouth of the huge 9 Tails was incredible. There are many powerful pirates on the Sabayati archipelago, and there may be members of dark forces with deep roots, but at this moment they were all shocked. Wait, that direction is. Suddenly, someone discovered the direction that 9 Tails' huge mouth was pointing at, and was shocked. Street. Chadwick couldn't help but look away, and his whole body was cold. You, how dare you? He was so shocked and even terrified that he couldn't speak, but 9 Tails didn't care what an ant below said. He swallowed the pitch-black sphere in his mouth, and the energy swelled in his throat. Its huge body looked at the prosperous island at the end of its line of sight, and suddenly opened its mouth again. This time, all the huge energy condensed before was released with a bang, as if the world was shaking, as if the prelude to the destruction of the world. Obviously the target was not even this island, but everything along the path of the energy beam was also destroyed. Human beings spent countless years leaving barbaric traces of civilization on the Sabayati archipelago. The existence of this island also it declares the power of nature's uncanny workmanship, but at this moment, everything will cease to exist. Because all but ruin. Boom. The light beam destroyed all the buildings along the way, leaving a huge gully of unknown length and width on the island, but everything touched by the light beam was empty, and the energy beam, the ultimate goal, is even more frightening. Because the light beam even directly passed through the ocean, created waves in the ocean, separated the oceans on both sides, and blasted directly to. Located above the red line, among the Mariejois, the shrine of the celestial dragons. Just the aftermath of the energy beam is so terrifying, but how terrifying is the explosion of the beam at the end? The Holy Land Mariejois, the residence of the celestial dragons, is the most sacred and authoritative place in the world. Its own existence represents the world government itself that has ruled the world for 800 years. Even the most rampant pirates, they did not dare to attack the palace of the celestial dragons. But all of this will change today. Because Nine Tails blasted its own blow at it, the first and strongest tailed beast bomb. Rumble. Even people in the Sabayati archipelago can see the huge explosion in the distance, and the gorgeous sparks rise directly at the end of their sight, and a mushroom cloud of sparks spreads loudly in this world, as if making the temperature around them improved by 2 points. Light tens of thousands of times brighter than the sun was released, and something seemed to fall to the ground in people's hearts, and it shattered with a click. Someone actually attacked the Holy Land Mariejois. Isn't it afraid of death? After all, it's still not clear what this sudden monster is, but the fact that it dared to attack Mariejois makes it the world's greatest criminal. And together with what grows in the hearts of everyone, there is also a thing called ambition. Someone dared to trample on the holy land of celestial dragons like this, and in front of so many people, they seemed to see that the authority represented by celestial dragons was also smashed in half by this cannon. As long as someone dared to send the first blow, then there will never be a shortage of people who dare to make a second strike. The one who is deeply terrified by this is the celestial dragon's Chadwick Saint, who stayed here. At this moment, it is looking at the huge Nine Tails and can no longer say those harsh words, because in the Nine Tails, under the powerful force, he has been overwhelmed by fear. Being a dignified man, he has never felt fear since he was a child, and the first time he felt it was the fear that he would be wiped out in the next moment. "Don't kill," he shouted at the top of his lungs, but it had no effect at all. Nine Tails. Genichi, after leaving safely, he has integrated his consciousness into Nine Tails, and he was also responsible for the cannon shot at Mariejois just now. He has a deep understanding of creatures like celestial dragons. After only being a slave for a few days, he has seen too much darkness. And the biggest darkness in this world is the celestial dragons. Celestial dragons' preference and acquiescence can make this lawless zone put on the cloak of civilization, so he wants to tear off this cloak fiercely, as well as the identity of celestial dragons' god. The so-called gods are just a group of self-righteous monkeys. He looked coldly at celestial dragons, who was slumped on the ground below, stretched out his front paws and grabbed him, staring at him with scarlet pupils. The latter had never experienced such a terrifying scene, and his brain was almost insane. Idiot, Genichi thought coldly. He directly increased the strength a little bit, and all the bones in Chadwick's body were shattered, and he let out a loud scream, because he couldn't bear the pain and passed out, and then die completely. Genichi threw him down like garbage, and that soft body landed in the crowd. People had never seen such a miserable appearance of celestial dragons, let alone thought that such a thing would happen to them. In addition to being terrified, the rebellion, produced by the huge flash blasted by Nine Tails, grew faster in his heart. However, they don't have time to think about these things at the moment. They are more intimidated by the terrifying power of Nine Tails, and are deeply terrified by it, so they can only run away desperately. The body that was squeezed into a meatball by Nine Tails ran away, and soon trampled him into a meat paste. Nine Tails moves and collapses, and shuttles unscrupulously on the Sabayati archipelago, and the area he walks through is full of devastation and ruins, and the guns and bullets used by the pirates and the arriving marines hit each other on him. There was no effect at all. The power of Nine Tails obtained by Genichi is a one-off, but he doesn't really care about it. Being able to use 100,000 emotional points to draw a card of the Nine Tails level is a huge profit. Far greater than the 100,000 that was invested. He can clearly feel how terrifying the power of Nine Tails is. One-tailed beast bomb can level an island, and no one can stop it just by body collision. Walking is a natural disaster, and earthquakes and tsunamis are nothing in this way. Come on, Admiral. On the sea, Genichi, who had successfully escaped, stood on the sea, looking at the huge nine tails on the Sabayati archipelago, and said softly, "Let me see how much an admiral-level master can bring me." Sabayati archipelago, as the entrance to New World, can be said to be quite prosperous here. But at this moment, a huge monster destroyed all of this. Quick retreat. Marine approached the lawless area from the distant island, continuously evacuated the civilians outside the lawless area, and kept rushing towards the lawless area. Although the roots of the world government are rotten, and there are many scum in most of the marine branches in the world, at least on the Sabayati archipelago near naval headquarters, these marines follow the justice in their hearts. A large number of marines maintain the order on the verge of collapse on each island. Perhaps such a thing has never happened in this archipelago since history. No one has ever dared to challenge the authority of the world government in this way, even the most rampant pirates in New World. I dare not do this either. Sabayati archipelago is only a short distance away from the Holy Lands of Mariejois and naval headquarters. The arrival of reinforcements from the two sides can be said to have arrived in an instant, and the one who came here on the main warship is the Sengoku of the Marine Admiral Buddha. It's such a hassle that this happens when I'm admiral. Even if there is still a distance, Sengoku can see the nine-tails demon fox who is unleashing his power on the island. His expression is a little ugly. This time, this monster has caused such a bad incident. Where is the face of Marine and the world government? Put it. Therefore, in order to properly handle this incident, Marshal Kong solemnly told him to handle it well before he set off. To ensure this, there were two other old men on board his warship this time. Vice Admiral Garp, Vice Admiral Zephyr. Sengoku is admiral, and they are vice admiral, but that doesn't prevent them from having the power to reach the level of admiral. Sengoku is the oldest of the three, 1 year older than Garp and 5 years older than Zephyr. Garp refused to be promoted to admiral because he didn't want to be the bodyguard of celestial dragons. Zephyr's qualifications were still a bit young. 38-year-old admiral is young enough, at least in the history of Marine, there is no such young admiral. At this moment, Sengoku brought these two old buddies, which is enough to prove the determination of naval headquarters. This is the nine-tails demon fox, mentioned in the news. Is it the phantom beast form of devil fruit? Garp was also standing in front of the warship, and he couldn't help but look solemnly at the huge nine tails. This guy, it's even more powerful than those lawless pirates in New World. Probably not. There is indeed a nine-tails fox phantom beast in Devil Fruit's illustrated book, but in terms of effect, it should be different from the monster in front of me. Zone Phantom Beast Dog Fruit Nine-Tails Fox form. This is the real Devil Fruit. Marine, as the overlord of the world, naturally has information about these devil fruits, but as far as they know, the phantom fruit of the devil fruit, the beast is definitely not the monster in front of him. Hurry up. Soon. However, just as they were about to approach the Sabayati archipelago, Zephyr suddenly noticed someone. Is someone standing on the sea? Zephyr frowned. He looked over carefully and found that the man was wearing a black robe with a hood on his head, and even had a Uzumaki-like mask on his face. Something suspicious. Garp also followed Zephyr's gaze, rubbing his chin and saying, "Covering his body so tightly, he doesn't look like a good person. Leave him alone. The most important thing now is to deal with that nine-tails demon fox." Sengoku also felt that there was something wrong with this person, but at this moment he was not in the mood to deal with any suspicious people. As admiral who leads the team this time, he must suppress the nine-tails chaos. At this moment, the nine tails trembled and the ground collapsed, the sea was shaking under his power, the ground under his feet cracked, and he directly destroyed the auction house and auditorium of an auction house with one paw. Under Genichi's control, he missed the slaves and just crushed all the guards and rich merchants who participated in the auction. As for the marine who came to stop him, he didn't let it go. Maybe these people are not bad in nature, they are also good people, but the object they serve is the biggest foundation of this fallen world, and their justice serves the wrong people, then Genichi will not show mercy. Countless bullets shot out from Marine's hand, but this level of attack is not even as good as scratching an itch for Nine Tails. Nine Tails swiped his claws and there was a lot of whining, but he would not stop because of these whining, will just keep going. At this moment, in such a short period of time, he almost destroyed all islands 1 to 29, and the entire lawless zone fell apart under his power, whether it was gangsters, wealthy businessmen participating in the auction, marines who resisted him, or some celestials who came here dragons, all became souls under his claws. His scarlet eyes looked towards the next island, which is the 30th island. From there, it is no longer a lawless area. There are many people who come to play and visit, but he doesn't seem to have any intention of retreating. Lifting the front paw is about to enter it. Shockwave. However, just as he was about to move forward, there was a roar from a distance, and the next moment a tall figure exuding golden light appeared in front of Nine Tails, who caught him off guard. Hit with one palm. Sengoku is here. When the Nine Tails were about to destroy the world beyond the lawless zone, the naval headquarters reinforcements dressed in justice finally arrived, and as the leader, Admiral Sengoku entered the Udemon's form in an instant. Boom! A white air wave was released from the hands of the Golden Buddha. Although it was quite a huge figure, it was not worth mentioning compared to the hundreds of meters of Nine Tails. It's just that the size of the strength is often not directly related to the body shape. At this moment, Sengoku's all-powerful blow immediately repelled Nine Tails, and Nine Tails' huge body retreated from the place where it was about to cross Island 30 to the end of the island. We can't let it take one step forward. Otherwise, the face of justice will be gone. Sengoku shouted loudly. Marine behind him became excited, and Garp jumped up directly. His arm became extremely black, and the powerful armament hockey covered it, making that hand condense enormous strength. Then, one punch hit Nine Tails on the head. What a tough guy. Such a terrifying punch hit the head of the retreating Nine Tails, and Nine Tails couldn't help deflecting it, but... Quote! Garp looked at the huge head that was deflected by himself, and the next moment, the demon fox resisted his own strength and turned around again. There seemed to be endless tyranny contained in those scarlet pupils. Roar! He punched himself head-on, and actually unscathed. Garp's fist could easily crush a mountain, and the damage caused by the impact on living things was simply unimaginable, but at this moment Nine Tails forcibly counteracted this force as if nothing happened. Roar! With a loud shout, Nine Tails threw Garp out. It seemed that even though he wasn't injured, the punch still hurt him a bit. Zephyr, go protect the civilians. Evacuate them. Seeing that Garp's blow didn't work, Sengoku more accurately recognized the danger of Nine Tails. At this moment, there are dozens of islands in Sabayati, and this battle is likely to affect the entire Sabayati and even further areas. All civilians on the island must be evacuated. Hold on. Zephyr didn't say much either. As a person who bears justice, he was not corrupted by the rights of celestial dragons, at least in the hearts of the three of them. Civilians are very important. They have already understood the power of Nine Tails. He can spit out a huge energy explosion from his mouth. It is likely that a single shot can sink an island. Such destructive power must not be released in a place like Sabayati Archipelago. And thinking of this, Nine Tails already had a huge amount of energy in their mouths like they didn't want to see. That kind of light beam didn't look like hockey that was released outside, and it didn't seem like Devil Fruit's ability, but it can be seen that it has extremely terrifying destructive power. Garp! Sengoku yelled at Garp, who was thrown to the ground by Nine Tails and fell into a big hole, but his body was also a monster like Nine Tails, and there was no injury on his body after crawling out of it. After hearing what Sengoku said, he is also serious. This monster, where do you want to destroy? Sengoku slapped again, and the huge impact hit the tailed beast bomb in Nine Tails' mouth, and the latter also slapped at this time. In an instant, a violent wind blew up. Good. What a terrifying power. Sengoku's pupils shrank, and Nine Tails just waved his claws, as if setting off a huge tornado, and instantly cancelled out his own shock wave. Immediately, the tailed beast bomb in the mouth was launched with a bang, and the artillery blasted directly into the distance, toward the Sabayati archipelago further away. Armed color outside. Garp had already come to the direction that Nine Tails was aiming at before. Seeing the tailed beast bomb shot by Nine Tails, he punched it out. The huge armament hockey seemed to condense into a black wall in the air in front of him. Nine Tails' tailed beast bomb collided together. Boom! The momentary collision caused the surrounding ground or tree roots to shatter in an instant, and all the surrounding buildings collapsed at the same time, and the entire island began to experience various ups and downs at this moment. Garp roared and released armament with all his strength. Hockey is going to block Nine Tails' tailed beast bomb here. After releasing the tailed beast bomb, Nine Tails lunged forward. Seeing this, Sengoku immediately stepped forward, and the golden Buddha statue stood in front of Nine Tails, who was more than 10 times taller than him. He swung a fist, and the huge force mixed with hockey immediately formed a huge impact, which directly collided with the palm swung by Nine Tails. The same scene of landslides and ground cracks is not inferior to Garp's collision with Tailed Beast Bomb. Boom! Sengoku was slapped into the depths of the earth with the palm of Nine Tails, forming a huge pit directly on the ground with a diameter of hundreds of meters and a depth of hundreds of meters. But Nine Tails also stopped charging, and even took 2 steps back. The next moment, the contest between Garp and Tailed Beast Bomb was finally decided. Garp punched, and Tailed Beast Bomb exploded in front of him. Then, huge energy swallowed him up, and several beams of light flew to further islands afterwards. Zephyr, who was escorting the civilians, saw the energy coming, kicked it away and shouted, "You two guys pay attention. The movement is too loud." Garp came out from the explosion. He said with a bit of shame, "It's so easy to say. His attack power can easily shatter a mountain, and his defense is stronger than his attack. Nine Tails' attack can also shatter a mountain, but under the weakening of his punch, subsequent attacks can't do much damage to him. Harm. This guy might be about the same as the most rampant pirates in New World, and he won't be physically injured." Garp said to Sengoku with some emotion, and the latter also crawled out of the big pit, and said with deep approval, "The body is huge and flexible, but I don't know if I am afraid of the seawater." "Then you'll know if you try it." Garp grinned. He appeared on the surface of the sea not far away in an instant, and then punched it hard. Hockey entered the depths of the sea and produced a kind of destruction and thrust, which immediately caused the sea in front of him to rise like a boiling wave. Huge waves. "Idiot, I'm still on it," Sengoku yelled, but the small wave Garp set off was only aimed at Nine Tails, and it didn't cover his position. If you want to make an ability user feel powerless, you have to put half of his body in the water. That's not acceptable. However, Sengoku was still worried about Garp's idiotic tactics. Sure enough, Nine Tails slapped the palm directly, and the hurricane created directly blocked the waves from the island, and the remaining power pushed the Garp of the waves were all repulsed. Sengoku took the opportunity to rush forward and punched again. Hockey from Conquerors was entangled in front of his fist. This punch was no less powerful than Garp's punch, and because of his size, it had a greater impact on Nine Tails. Nine Tails was repelled hundreds of meters. He looked at the glittering Sengoku, let out a roar, and there was another tailed beast bomb condensing in his mouth. "Isn't this monster consumed? Can this kind of trick be used casually?" Sengoku cursed in his heart, but it was impossible for him to choose to dodge, because the direction Nine Tails was aiming at this moment. It's Mariejois again. This is a direction he must block. Nine Tails is a monster who doesn't take the legal principles of this world into account at all. Bravo! In the distance, Genichi standing above the seaside from the bottom of his heart. Whether it's Nine Tails fighting Sengoku Garp, or, in his eyes at the moment, the rising emotional value. Positive emotional value. 6,320 inches. Negative sentiment value. Because the power in the body is one time, out of the desire for power, he chose to draw twice while Nine Tails was still fighting. One is a positive emotion and the other is a negative emotion. The former is at the level of 1,000 emotional value, while the latter is 100,000 emotion level. It can only be said that it is worthy of the admiral level, and the people who came from naval headquarters this time are also elites, which brought him too much emotional value. Before, he directly sucked a large number of slaves to the point where he couldn't suck any more, and he managed to collect 100,000 emotional points with great difficulty, but now that Nine Tails has made a big fuss, it's only been a while, and it's not the kind of suction from the bottom. All contributed more than 600,000 negative emotions to him. And what is certain is that as time goes by, after this matter is fermented around the world, the emotional feedback will inevitably get more and more. Marines and people who care about the world government will naturally feed back negative emotional values, while those pirates or people who are full of hatred for the world government will feed back positive emotional values. And now, he is drawing a character card with 100,000 negative emotion points, and this time the card he drew is Argon Miasma. From JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a substitute. There is a dark space in the mouth. You can swallow the body into it. It will not cause any damage to the body, but it will swallow all the enemies it touches. The disadvantage is that the body entering the dark space cannot obtain the outside vision. Single quote. The stand-in of the JoJo system actually appeared in the form of a character card. With a thought, a purple phantom exuding an illusory aura appeared behind him. This is great. Not only did he get 1% of the ability of Yukong Miasma, but he also directly obtained a complete Yukong Miasma substitute. As a character card drawn from 100,000 points, he is quite satisfied. Although the action of sub-air miasma is a bit slow, and there is still the disadvantage of not being able to feel the outside world, and I don't know if this kind of substitute attack will be blocked or neutralized by the enemy's hockey, but this thing. There is no need to use it to attack the enemy. With sub-air miasma, he is equivalent to having an absolutely safe different space, just like Uchiha Obito, having Kamui that makes him absolutely invincible. He can enter the dark space inside the sub-air miasma at any time, and there is also a small dark space in his body, which is equivalent to absolute concealment, and has an absolute defense that no one can break through. Oh, I don't know if Whitebeard's shock fruit can break the space to hurt him, but he doesn't need to face Whitebeard, because with such a powerful ability, he still needs to take risks. There is no need at all. Now because it is in the startup period, it can be dispatched appropriately, and with the sub-air miasma, he can definitely guarantee his own safety. Then, another prop with 1000 positive emotions. A goulash with potatoes. It will fill you up with delicious rice. Single quote. Well, you shouldn't have any expectations for something with 1000 emotional value. But, he really didn't eat much good food during his days as a slave. When he left Sabayati, he changed his clothes, covered himself with a black robe, and wore a mask. The person Zephyr saw on the warship standing on the sea was of course him up. At this time, he suddenly thought that he is now a bit like Uchiha Obito, who also released 9 tails and is also a mysterious person wearing a mask. Uchiha Obito went to meet 4th Hokage, so should he meet Marine's future admiral? Does it make them know nothing about 9 tails and feel puzzled by the unknown, or does it make them think that 9 tails was released by someone, and feel fearful and angry about him? With the battle time of 9 tails and Garp Sengoku, it can't be over without half a day. One Piece is a world that often fights for several days to end the battle. With the combined combat power of Garp and Sengoku, this battle will definitely be better than later fighting the Golden Lion is much more difficult. Genichi thought for a while, and he decided to choose the latter. He wanted the world government or other forces to directly point the source of his emotional fluctuations at himself. If he just felt that it was a natural disaster or fear of the unknown, part of his emotional power might be wasted. Now with his Argonaut powers, he can't beat Zephyr, but it's also impossible for anyone to catch him. Marine is currently protecting civilians and retreating. The warship that Marine drove was already full of people. Zephyr saw that they had almost evacuated, and was thinking of going to support Sengoku Garp and the others, but suddenly saw someone walking slowly on the sea, with his pupils shrank. This person. It was the guy he had seen before. And the direction he is going now is the warship loaded with civilians. What is he going to do? For some reason, Zephyr felt that this guy was extremely dangerous, and he must not be allowed to approach the ship full of civilians. Hey, just stand where you are and don't move. In an instant, he jumped off the warship. Zephyr is not a person with abilities, so he doesn't have to be afraid of the sea. Looking at Genichi wearing a mask, he said coldly, if I go further, I will be regarded as the same as the sea. The thief will deal with it. Marine, Zephyr, Genichi, who was wearing a mask, said Zephyr's name slowly, and the latter became more serious, knowing that he walked over so calmly. This guy is definitely not simple. Meet you, Marine's future admiral. Who are you? Said that he is the future admiral, which didn't surprise Zephyr. Now the 3 most popular in Marine, Sengoku, Garp, and him. Sengoku has become admiral, and he has become admiral, things that have already been settled. I'm here to send a declaration of war report. You can call me 0. Zephyr frowned. War declaration. Ridiculous. Are you going to declare war on the world government? Why? Is there a reason? You can think it's my whim, or you can think it's a long-planned plan. It's both for war and peace. Only such a ridiculous statement. Zephyr was furious. Just because of such a ridiculous statement, did you plan this incident? You fool, do you know how many people lost their lives because of you? Zephyr upholds the principle of, don't kill. He never deprives the life of even the most evil pirates. After hearing Yuan's words, he already thinks that the Nine-Tails demon fox is the other party's companion. Seeing so many casualties, although all it's a lawless gangster, but he still couldn't help but roared. Not just Sabayati, including here. Genichi raised his head and looked at the civilians on the warship. Is this really good? As a warship to accommodate civilians, the defense is so loose. Don't bother you. Hockey already condensed on Zephyr's arm. With me here, this is the safest place in the world. Zephyr's eyes were fixed on this man who called himself Zero. He seemed to be unprepared, his whole body was full of flaws, but for some reason, this man gave Zephyr a false sense of strength. Maybe, this guy is even more dangerous than that rambunctious Nine-Tails demon fox. However, there is justice behind him. These two words will not make him retreat. As long as he hasn't fallen, then behind him is the safest place in the world. I see. In his gaze, Zero still didn't put away his flawless look, and he chuckled, as expected of the world government that has ruled the world for 800 years, it really has the arrogance that should exist. But, as soon as he changed his voice, a strange energy suddenly emanated from his body, which could not be seen clearly with the naked eye. Only observation Hockey could see the outline. Hockey. No, it's not like Hockey, or is it his fruit ability? Genichi smiled, and the next moment his whole body seemed to be twisted. No, not twisted. Zephyr's pupils dilated for a moment. Is he, body entering the body of the strange figure floating out behind him? Stop. Who are you? Zephyr rushed forward in an instant, and the powerful armament Hockey covered one of his arms, and he was in front of Genichi almost instantly, but at this time Genichi had completely entered the sub-air miasma, and the sub-air miasma was also shrinking itself. Zephyr never expected that the miasma of sub-air would also disappear. He shouted, is this your declaration of war? Just run away like this? Marine. Zephyr, your disrespect will end here. The body of Yukong miasma has completely entered the dark space, and Genichi's voice came from the void. I declare war on the world on behalf of your invisible empire, but the war will not break out now, maybe in a few dozen years. Years from now, maybe years, months or even days, maybe even Mariejois or Marineford that will attack you in the next moment. Facing Zephyr's attack, Genichi, who had already entered the dark space, said in a relaxed tone, you all have fear for the future, so please accept the great gift of Nine Tails. Boom. Suddenly, a huge explosion occurred on the Sabayati archipelago. The flames of the explosion directly illuminated the sky as if there were two suns. Zephyr lost his mind for a moment and hurriedly swung his fist, but the last black hole in front of him disappeared the next moment. He punched the air heavily, and the huge force stirred the sea surface, making a gully of unknown length, but it just missed Genichi. The Invisible Empire. Zephyr gritted his teeth, still thinking about the organization behind them, the Invisible Empire that, Zero, said in his head. Can't see it. Must use knowledge color perception. Like that monster behind him. Could it be that the space he entered is where the Invisible Empire is located? And that monster is a tool for these people to enter the Empire? Zephyr's brain was running fast, and the next moment he yelled at Marine on the warship, protect the civilians. The enemy may not just leave like this, but Zephyr thinks it's better to help Sengoku Garp deal with the Nine Tails first. If the enemy really came to declare war, then they can't be dragged here by Nine Tails for a long time. The ability of that Zero is very strange, at least on the surface it doesn't look very powerful. The slack body is full of flaws at a glance, but it just gives him a sense of crisis in the dark, and the last one directly the monster that swallowed him, what was it? Zephyr's speed was like a shell fired from a warship's cannon, even faster than that, and rushed directly into the Sabayati archipelago. The huge Nine Tails squandered its power recklessly, and the two figures fought a shocking battle with him. Garp and Sengoku, the two old buddies, initially demonstrated the strength of their teamwork. Later, they teamed up to defeat Golden Lion and Bullet. It makes sense to say that Garp is the team king. Only this time, a third party, Zephyr, was added. How did it come so slowly? Garp's cloak had been lost for a long time. He was wearing a pure black combat uniform, and blood was bleeding from many places on his body, and the blood even stained the black clothes. Turned a little dark red. After seeing Zephyr's arrival, he felt a little relieved, but he still complained, "If you come later, I will almost finish this big fox. I met a difficult person. It's a bit complicated anyway. Let's talk about it after solving the Nine-Tails demon fox first." Zephyr glanced at Sengoku, and found that Sengoku's golden body was a bit dim at the moment. During the time he talked with Zero, the two had a high-intensity fierce battle. But Nine-Tails too. Compared to the beginning, Nine-Tails is not so huge now. This monster doesn't seem to get tired. He can continue to exert his combat power until his physical strength is exhausted. "Be careful." Garp, who had been fighting Nine-Tails for a while, finished speaking, and rushed up like a hurricane. At the same time, Sengoku, repelled by the great strength of Nine-Tails, Zephyr caught the retreating Golden Buddha, and then rushed up with Garp's figure. Boom! Garp knocked Nine-Tails back 2 steps with one punch, but Nine-Tails immediately fought back, and its strength was incredible. Without Haki, Garp was able to shoot Garp from the sky to the ground just by relying on the strength of his body. Zephyr kicked Nine-Tails on the head. He looked at the huge fox eyes, filled with endless destruction and tyranny. Nine-Tails roared, threw Zephyr out, and a tailed beast bomb appeared in his mouth. And, not one. That guy, is he going to burn the entire Mariejois to the ground? At this moment, a large number of black balls appeared in Nine-Tails' mouth, and each one contained powerful energy. It was hard to imagine what would happen once it exploded. And now, these tailed beast bombs are all aimed in the direction of the Holy Land Mariejois. Nine-Tails, is it necessary to destroy the Holy Land of the world government? They originally declared war on the world government, so it's not surprising that they would do such a thing. Zephyr said directly, "It's just that we must not let it succeed. Once Mariejois is destroyed, the world will run wild and out of control in an instant. At that time, the whole world will be destroyed. To hell." He grabbed the cloak on his shoulders and threw aside the white engraved with justice. He stood side by side with Garp and Sengoku, looking at Nine-Tails, who wanted to destroy Mariejois. This is no longer just about the battle of justice, but about the order of the entire world. You can't let this fool use this kind of move. The 3 of them rushed forward in an instant, and they all rushed to the mouth of the Nine-Tails demon fox. They wanted to block this huge energy in front of Nine-Tails, otherwise, as long as one of the fierce energy did not stop it, it would attack Mariejois, did significant damage. Originally, Mariejois had already been bombarded by a tailed beast bomb before. If she was bombarded again, the prestige of the world government would really be wiped out. To be honest, the 3 people present are not very interested in celestial dragons, but at least as far as the current world is concerned, celestial dragons rule the world as order. Once this is shaken, the whole world will undoubtedly be in chaos. Careerists who are countless times crazier than these pirates are bound to incite people to provoke war. A war that spreads to the whole world. At that time, I don't know how many people will die. They can't allow this to happen. Therefore, even if they risk their lives, they will stop Nine-Tails here. Roar! Seeing the 3 rushing towards them, Nine-Tails spit out several tailed beast bombs. The black sphere has no fixed orbit, and the 3 of them can't dodge. I'm afraid that as long as it gets a little bit of it, you will die without a whole body. But now it was pinched by several tailed beast bombs, and with a bang, a big explosion that made the world tremble, as if a flash of light countless times brighter than the sun spread above the Sabayati archipelago, as if rising for this world a second sun. Garp! In the new type of sun, Sengoku and Zephyr roared, and suddenly a person rushed out of the cloud of explosion smoke. It was Marine Vice Admiral Garp the Fist. Those tailed beast bombs were blocked by Sengoku and Zephyr with their bodies, so that Garp did not receive the most direct impact, and their purpose of doing this, Garp is very clear, is to give me back. Garp's body was completely covered in pitch black, armament Haki used ultimate. He roared, and punched directly on the same black-tailed beast bomb that was about to burst out. Boom! With one punch, 2 forces erupted one after the other. Garp used all his strength to roar hoarsely, "Eat your own explosion, idiot!" This punch seemed to shatter the air. Garp exhausted all his strength, and suddenly all his strength exploded. The black spherical-tailed beast bomb was supposed to be aimed at Mariejois, but Garp's punch was. The tailed beast bomb that was about to erupt directly hit Nine-Tails' throat. Boom! Then, there was a huge explosion inside Nine-Tails' body. Huge energy was flowing around in Ninetales' body. Garp couldn't help but smiled when he saw this scene. A strong light penetrated from Ninetales' mouth. Even though the main force was borne by Ninetales himself, Garp could still feel it among them as the terrifying destructive power. If it really hits Mariejois, maybe the God's Land is really going to be over. However, since it is so powerful, it should also end. No way. Garp fell, and was about to relax, but the next moment he was cold. Because, from the light of the explosion, what appeared was Ninetales' almost intact body. The monster. Garp cursed in his heart, won't this guy get hurt? He was about to fight back, but it was too late. The venom in Ninetales' eyes was almost dripping out. He opened his huge mouth, and when Garp didn't react, he bit him. Garp only had time to cover himself with hockey again, and the next moment his eyes went black. He entered the mouth of Ninetales, and was swallowed by Ninetales' fox in one gulp. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. At this moment, Sengoku and Zephyr finally broke free from the horrific explosion. Their bodies were full of injuries, and even Marine Admiral was a bit reluctant to bear such a horrific explosion head-on. Moreover, when they broke free, what happened to be the scene where Garp was swallowed by Ninetales? Garp! Sengoku roared, and then he rushed over again regardless, even though his whole body was injured, but the anger in his heart was like a volcanic eruption that made him unable to stop. Along with Zephyr, the speed of the two surpassed the afterimage, and they came to both sides of Ninetales in an instant, and each of them punched Ninetales in the head. Ninetales was in pain, and he also felt severe pain when he was hit by the fists of these two people, and then he swung it like crazy. The violent power made this fragile island even more terrifying. Zephyr cursed angrily. He dodged every attack of Ninetales sensitively. He clearly felt that although Ninetales didn't feel tired, it did become a little weaker. Then there's still a chance before he fully digests Garp. The same is true for Sengoku. Although their injuries are getting worse, their physical strength is getting bigger and bigger, and they are getting more and more tired, but their attacks are getting more and more violent. The battle between the Ninetales Demon Fox and Sengoku Zephyr lasted for an unknown amount of time. Suddenly, heavy rain fell from the sky, as if crying for this ruined world. The majestic heavy rain slapped on the island and made a noisy sound when it fell on the sea. Finally, the sound of a tailed beast bomb explosion overwhelmed all the torrential rain, and Sengoku and Zephyr were pushed back by the energy, and were knocked out in another violent explosion. The huge body of Ninetales slowly moved forward from the flames. The 9 swaying tails seemed to be calling for the arrival of natural disasters, and those scarlet eyes made people shudder. Sengoku and Zephyr stood up again, ready to attack again. Suddenly, however, Ninetales stopped. Quote question mark exclamation mark quote. Sengoku and Zephyr frowned. Ninetales seemed to be in great pain. The next moment, it roared to the sky, and a huge force spread out. The two of them put their hands in front of their bodies to resist the force. It's that Garp guy. They only saw the inside of Ninetales' body rising and falling. Although it was extremely small, it became so obvious with the pain of Ninetales, as if something was constantly beating in it. That guy Garp must be right. I didn't expect him to get into Ninetales' stomach without stopping. Take advantage of this opportunity. Eliminate the Ninetales Demon Fox in one fell swoop. Sengoku roared, and immediately charged up with Zephyr again. At the same time, the warships that had already approached the island also opened fire at this moment, and the sound of cannons rang through the rain. It seemed to be announcing that this event was finally coming to an end. Ninetales Demon Fox, let Naval Headquarters dispatch such a large force, and caused huge casualties to the Holy Land Mariejois as an emissary declaring war. It does a great job. With an earth-shattering burst, a violent earthquake occurred throughout the Sabayati archipelago, as if the entire mangrove tree was shaking. The Ninetales who made a fuss in Sabayati and even bombarded the Holy Land of Mariejois disappeared. No one knows if it is dead. Under the internal attack of Garp and the external attack of Sengoku and Zephyr, this huge Ninetales Demon Fox just disappeared suddenly. Countless red brilliance appeared on its body, and then gradually dissipated. Garp, who was swallowed by Ninetales in one gulp, suddenly fell from a height of several hundred meters, and at this moment, he seemed to have finally passed out. Perhaps it was caused by some factors in Ninetales' body. The state doesn't look good. Sengoku caught the falling Garp, he was also bruised and panting, but Ninetails finally stopped moving and was dissipating. Is it really dead? Is it really wiped out by us? Zephyr murmured. Sengoku shook his head, he didn't know the answer to that question either. I met a guy who called himself Zero before. It was the masked man we saw when we came here. He also escaped with a clever way of space movement. At this moment, did the Ninetails really dissipate or? It should have dissipated. After all, their observation hockey can sense that the energy on Ninetails is rapidly decaying. Although this monster is not like any other creature that is commonly seen, it should also die. It's just that, for some reason, they had an ominous premonition in their hearts. The incident this time is just the beginning, it won't end there, Zephyr said. Sengoku also agreed. They looked in other directions and found that the entire island was in dilapidated condition. This is why they used their bodies to forcefully block the tailed beast bomb many times, otherwise the entire Sabayati archipelago would be destroyed. Go back to the headquarters, I have something important to tell Marshal Kong. Zephyr sighed softly, the world will not be peaceful in the future, this era may go berserk, or it may sail in other directions, I really don't know if it will be a good thing or a bad thing for this world. Thus, the Ninetails Demon Fox incident came to an end. The rain from the sky was still falling, as if it wanted to wash away the evils in this world, and it seemed to be crying for the death of a strong man like Ninetails. This incident spread all over the world at an extremely fast speed, whether it was the first half of the Grand Line or the second half of the New World, or even spread all over the world, different places, different people heard the same news, there were different reactions afterwards. Some fear, some excitement, some anticipation, some admiration for Admiral Sengoku and the two vice-admirals who came forward, although people have not seen the huge Ninetails demon fox with their own eyes, but Garp the Fist, Black Arm Zephyr, Admiral Sengoku is well known in the New World where the big pirates are all over, and even the name of Garp the Fist is equivalent to the devil to the pirates. With these three people working together, and it is said that Garp fell into a coma for a long time afterwards, it is conceivable how powerful the Ninetails demon fox is. On a moving pirate ship in New World, people are eating hot pot and singing songs, a scene of peace and joy. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, there was a clear and hearty laughter from the corner of the gathered banquet. People turned their eyes and found that it was their Captain Roger who was laughing. It's really interesting. That guy Garp was knocked unconscious. It's a pity we weren't in Sabayati at the time. Roger was still holding a newspaper in his hand, and he happily beat his thighs sitting cross-legged with his hands. The wind blew the newspaper in his hand to the curious people beside him. Rayleigh took the newspaper, and several people immediately surrounded him. Deputy Captain, Captain Roger is so happy to see what happened. Rayleigh looked at the news, and in a prominent place he saw a huge fox with 9 tails, and in front of it were 3 figures of justice, Sengoku, Zephyr and Garp. The 3 of them were it's like a hero who can't wait for thousands of people to face a super monster that is 100 times bigger than them. In fact, there is no such picture. The 3 people have never been wearing the robe of justice at the same time. It should be a cobbled together picture. However, other people must not know it. Marine hero successfully hunted 9 tails demon fox. Under the eye-catching title is a complete introduction to the event. It's, that kind of thing happened. Rayleigh's pupils narrowed. Someone attacked the Sabayati archipelago and bombarded Mariejois. Simply, lawlessness. They didn't even think about doing this kind of thing, and the consequences were really serious. Marine even dispatched Admiral Sengoku, Vice Admiral Garp, and Zephyr directly to wipe out the 9 tails demon fox. The last photo is 9 tails exuding brilliance, and Garp falling out of his stomach, which is also very eye-catching. Rayleigh looked at more and more people gathered, also smiled, and then threw the newspaper upwards. Immediately, a group of people's eyes lit up, and they started looting the newspaper. Rayleigh walked up to Roger's side in the confusion. Roger was laughing and drinking wine at the moment. When he saw Rayleigh coming, he was excited and pulled him over and poured him a glass of wine. The Garp who has been chasing after R is deflated. It's really curious, what kind of monster is that? Roger was still smiling, but Rayleigh had a serious face. Now the whole world may set off a new storm, which may not be a good thing for us. The prestige of the world government has been greatly lost. It cannot be made up for by killing the culprit behind the scenes, and it may not be true to kill the culprit behind the scenes. What's there to worry about? Anyway, Roger was still smiling, but after hearing Rayleigh's words, he suddenly froze. What? Is Ninetails not dead? Not Ninetails' problem. Rayleigh shook his head. He still had a small piece of newspaper in his hand, which he tore off just now. Before Zephyr went to the battlefield, he also confronted a guy wearing a mask. I suspect that the appearance of Ninetails may have something to do with him. That small piece of newspaper happened to be when Zephyr was using Hockey to attack Genichi, but the camera couldn't capture the double, so he could only see Genichi twisted into the void, which looked even more dangerous. Roger was only paying attention to Garp and Ninetails with the biggest heads before, but he didn't expect such a thing in this corner. He was serious for a while. Rayleigh just looked at him like that, and then, as expected, Roger continued to laugh. Isn't this more fun? Let's turn the world upside down. Ha 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 ha. Also in New World, on another ship, the world's strongest pirate ship, the Rocks pirates also had people on board the ship who laughed heartily. The most ferocious pirate in the world, Rocks, who has the strongest power in the world today, looked at the newspaper in his hand, and laughed so hard that the whole ship trembled. It's so funny that someone doesn't give face to those fat pigs with drooling noses. No doubt Rocks saw the news, too, and was particularly interested in Ninetails blasting Mariejois. On his ship, there are many famous big pirates: Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Big Mom, Kaido. These world's top combat forces are all under the Rock's command, and so many strong people gather. Rock's ambition is naturally unprecedented expansion. He wants to become the king of the world and fight against the world government. At this moment, he is very excited after seeing Ninetails rioting in Sabayati and bombarding Mariejois. Only, tisk, won't this stinky fox steal all the limelight? Rocks suddenly became gloomy again. For a moment, it seemed that the sky felt the anger in his heart, and black lightning suddenly descended, and the huge force shook him. Facing the violent sea. In an instant, a strong wave spread out from his body. Even the Hockey emitted unconsciously made many people on the ship feel dizzy, but no one stopped Rocks. This pirate group is like this: you will die. You fainting is only because of your lack of strength. No one speaks up for the weak. It can't be like this, Rocks said gloomily. In front of him are Shiki, Edward Newgate, Charlotte Linlin, and Silver Axe, John, Akoku, these world-renowned big pirates. These are the people who can prevent the entire Rocks pirate ship from being affected by his conquerors plus a Kaido. And Rocks D. Zebek, who ruled these people, loudly stated his next plan: come on, let's make a big fuss, and let the world government know that the Ninetails demon fox is no match for our Rocks pirate. Now the whole world knows. Pirates are careerists all over the world, are carnival or fearful, but only naval headquarters is now in a state of anxiety. Although they have successfully defeated Ninetails, the pirates are becoming more and more rampant. They have to increase their forces to maintain order. In the Marshal's office, the current Marine Marshal Kong said angrily, who told them to spread this news. The commotion was so big at the time, it was hard not to be reported. Garp tucked his nose. Besides the Marshal, only Sengoku, Garp, and Zephyr, the three people who had fought against Ninetails, were here at the moment. Ninetails is nothing. The report goes out as soon as it goes out. The main reason is. Sengoku frowned. How come Zephyr and that Zero were also photographed? From the point of view, it should be taken by the civilians on the ship. Zephyr sighed. It's a good thing they didn't hear our conversation clearly, otherwise we don't know how much commotion it will cause. In short, things are very serious now. The world government has suffered such a big loss. It cannot be made up for by killing Ninetails. We must investigate who that Zero is, why he appeared there, and the man behind him. What is the Invisible Empire? Kong said in a deep voice. Zephyr, your information is very valuable, and you have contributed a lot in this battle. I have officially submitted your application for promotion to Admiral to the world government. After a while, you can be promoted to Admiral. Gone. I'm going to investigate the matter of Zero. Won't it be a waste of time to upgrade to Admiral now? Zephyr frowned. No, this is also the next arrangement for you from the world government and I. You will be fully responsible for tracking down the Invisible Empire. Both the local government and the CP will cooperate with you. Sora began to assign the order. Sengoku and Garp, you two are ready to go to the new world. Is it finally going to start again? Garp grinned. I feel like my body is going to rust after so long. Sora nodded and emphasized, the pirates in New World are rampant recently, so I specially sent the two of you to go together, and we must wipe out the pirates who are making a fuss. Don't worry. The order was distributed, and the three of them walked out of the marshal's office together. Sengoku first congratulated Zephyr. Congratulations, Zephyr, you will become Admiral too. Originally, Zephyr didn't have enough qualifications, and he was going to become Admiral 2 years later when he was 38 years old. Now he becomes Admiral at 36 years old, which can be regarded as a change caused by Genichi's arrival. Originally, Garp was also promoted together, but Garp sternly refused after waking up. He can choose whether to protect the celestial dragons or not out of his own will, but he must never allow himself to really be the dog of the celestial dragons. Garp, are you sure you're okay? Zephyr glanced at Garp again. He still had a clear memory of what happened to Garp when he came out of Ninetales' body. His body is covered by a red film-like thing. The power is neither hockey nor fruit ability, but it can be seen that it is extremely evil. That power is the power of Ninetales' demon fox. If it wasn't for Garp subconsciously maintaining armament hockey even after he passed out, maybe that kind of power would have eaten him up. But even so, the force was still tormenting Garp, until he got back to naval headquarters, and he was sent to the hospital with no improvement, and even they couldn't find anything. It just depends on whether Garps can overcome the power of Ninetales. After Garp woke up, they didn't know what the idiot Garp had done. After being swallowed by Ninetales, this guy Garp actually wanted to use his own way to deal with him. He also opened his mouth to eat Ninetales, and bit off a piece of Ninetales' stomach meat. Afterwards, he felt that his body was extremely hot, and he kept attacking inside Ninetales' body. Cooperating with Sengoku and Zephyr's attack outside, he solved the Ninetales demon fox earlier. It can only be said that Garp's body is indeed a monster, and someone else would be an idiot if he didn't die under that high fever, right? But Garp woke up refreshed, not at all like a person who had been in a coma for a few days. Of course it's fine. Garp laughed loudly, I'm not even afraid of that big fox, why would I be killed by a piece of its meat? Don't worry. I seem to have endless energy to vent, this time I must catch that Roger. Chapter 11. Positive Sentiment Value. Negative Sentiment Value. The world is turbulent now, everyone has different thoughts in their hearts, and now their thoughts have turned into an invisible force and entered Genichi's body, turning them into positive and negative emotional forces for him to use. He found that when the emotional value reaches 1 million, the original emotional value contributed by each person will be reduced, and the overall value will be reduced to about half, otherwise he should be far more than 1.2 million negative emotional value. According to his speculation, unless the drawing card with 100,000 emotional value is a one-time card, and the upper limit of the number of cards that can be drawn with the value of 100,000 can reach the top combat power in this world. If they are distinguished according to later generations, they are Kaido, Golden Lion, Whitebeard and other top-level players. Generally speaking, to capture such people, Sengoku and Garp have to join forces, and the opponent must fight to the death. The one-time Ninetales is probably like this. Although Sengoku, Garp and Zephyr finally solved it together, it is more because Ninetales cannot be allowed to cause larger-scale damage, and Ninetales must be eliminated as soon as possible. In the conventional sense, the character cards that can be drawn with 100,000 negative emotion points should be from the Strong of the Four Seas to the Supernova, which breaks through 100 million pirates. People who have exercised to a certain extent. After all, although the avatars in the JoJo world are very interesting and very powerful, but the difference in their own worldview still brings differences. After all, the world of JoJo is still set in the background of the real world, and the world of pirates is that kind of magical style. Not only there are superpowers, systematic training methods, and methods of restraint. He doesn't know what the original double looks like, but what he can be sure of is that the things he draws out with emotional points can never be invincible, just like only the double messenger can see the double, and only the double can hurt the double. It cannot happen to him. A stand-in is like Devil Fruit's ability, except that it is not afraid of sea water. Although it is invincible against ordinary people, it will also be detected by observation hockey, and will also be attacked by armament hockey or conqueror's hockey. In exchange for something invincible. Not to mention, it is not difficult to obtain 100,000 points. The intensity of drawing cards is directly proportional to the difficulty of obtaining the amount of emotional points. However, sub-air miasma is special, and it is indeed very strong in evasion. In fact, there is no shortage of such devil fruits in the world, such as barrier fruit, childlike fruit. These are all fruits with very bug abilities. Even if the user is not strong, they are almost invincible in this field where devil fruit is good at. Sub-air miasma falls into this category. As for the emotional value of 1 million, he estimated that it is the average level of a supernova, a big pirate who has exceeded 100 million, to 4 emperors, Shichibukai, and the upper limit is about Doflamingo, Jinbei. A card drawn with 1 million emotional points is definitely considered a strong player in this world. Although it cannot be said to be a top-notch strong player, it can be regarded as a respectable player in the world of One Piece, even at a pretty good level. The emotional value of 10 million should be at the level of 4 emperors to admiral and 4 emperors, and it can be regarded as the world's top combat power. As for the highest emotional value of 100 million, might it surpass the world's highest combat power? And these are all normal cards. He can't even imagine what level it would be if he could draw a one-time card. But it's better not to come. After all, the one-time card will disappear after a while, and thinking that the 1 million to 10 million emotional value only draws out a powerful person who exists for a short time, he feels that no matter how powerful he is, he probably won't be moved. Sabayati's incident has been over for a while. During this period, he has been delving into his own ability. When it is particularly deep, he seems to be able to hear the voice in the depths of his soul, as if he can obtain the correct enlightenment, and he will respond to it. Have a certain understanding of the nature of one's own abilities. He found that there should be an unlimited place for this thing, that is, the characters drawn by him can also practice various abilities of Pirate World. After all, the big guys have been changed by Pirate World, so there is no self. The advantage should also be part of the advantage. Just like people who were not substitute messengers couldn't see the substitute, but now they can be seen because they adapt to the rules of the world. So in the process of adapting to the rules of the world, they should also be able to practice according to the rules of the world. It doesn't matter to him himself, as long as he can continue to draw cards, his strength will continue to rise. Although it is only about 1%, as long as he draws cards, he can become stronger, not to mention that the drawn characters are also considered him. They are of course counted as the strength of Genichi himself. Now, he has more than 1 million negative emotion points and more than 70,000 positive emotion points in his hand. I really don't know why he got so little positive emotion points when he obviously bombarded Mariejois. Those who have been bullied by celestial dragons will be very happy, is not it? Could it be that they didn't see the news? Or do they feel more fear? Genichi doesn't know, but anyway, these two values are still rising, and emotions from all over the world are still flowing into his body. He decided to wait for the positive emotion value to exceed 100,000 before drawing items. And the negative emotions should not reach the level of 10 million. After all, after the negative emotional value exceeded 1 million, the income he obtained had already been halved, and he didn't know if it would decline again in the future, so he decided to draw another card, and it was a 1 million level card. He has now drawn a total of 2 negative emotion cards. One is the one-off 9 tails and the other is the stand-in sub-air miasma, both of which have played a very important role in his development. And now, he wants to draw another card. Brother Toyu. From the world of Yu Yu Hakusho, a B-level monster possesses powerful muscle strength, and can increase its muscles with monster aura. Although it is a B-level monster, if you fight beyond your own limit, you may be able to have an A-level monster. Level. Beyond his own limit, it should refer to his 100% that surpassed 100%. Having such a powerful monster, maybe it can just verify his conjecture. If you practice hockey with Togiro's powerful body, what kind of realm can you push Togiro to by relying on this strength? Just don't know. Is it possible to awaken the conquerors? If you want to master hockey, it should not be difficult to have a strong body as the foundation. But after all, he is not a native of Pirate World. Even after the transformation of Pirate World, Togiro has the hockey qualifications that everyone in Pirate World has, but as Rayleigh said, everyone has hockey. But most people can't grasp it. He doesn't have any information about hockey, which means that he has zero knowledge about hockey cultivation, and the most difficult thing is to start from scratch, from 1 to 1000. Instead, he just needs to exercise step by step. One Piece World has many martial arts training places, and even Murloc Karate has a special martial arts gym, but if he wants to learn hockey systematically, he feels that he must either go to Wano Kuni or Marine. Observation hockey is okay, armament hockey should be, it needs to be exercised little by little. Only, want Tuyuro to join Marine. He was a little hesitant. Now that Huyulu was drawn out by spending 1 million negative emotion points, of course it must bring huge benefits. If Huyulu joins the Marine, then what can be done will be rejected. There are too many restrictions. After all, it's not a big conscription in the world now, so you can directly go to Admiral's position. It takes too much time to start from an ordinary Marine and then to learn hockey. It is better to go directly to catch a Marine Vice Admiral or go to New World to find a big pirate and ask him directly. At this time, he was still thinking about whether to use another 100,000 emotional points to draw a card, and divide the soldiers into several ways to arrest people or force them to interrogate them, but after thinking about it, he decided to give up. After all, the previous 2 draws of 100,000 cards were due to good luck, one was Ninetales and the other was Sub-Air Miasma, both of which were very useful characters or abilities for him, so there may not be such luck in the future. It's better to save it up and start the lottery draw when the emotional value reaches 1 million. Anyway, after the emotional value drops below 1 million, it will not be limited and will not drop to half. Restored to 1 million mood points. In the past few days, he has probably figured out the era he is in now. It is still the era of rocks, which is 1484, but his era will soon be ended. Because it was in this year that Roger and Garp teamed up to break rocks, dream of being the king of the world. He himself died in the Valley of Gods, and his pirate group also fell apart. Genichi felt that this might be a good opportunity to harvest emotional value, but he didn't know when the Valley of the Gods battle would break out, and he didn't know if he could reach the level of participating in that level of battle before then. On that battlefield, if you want to occupy a certain position, you need to be at the level of the Admiral 4 Emperors, right? Thinking of this, he felt that there was a high probability that he had to be at the level of Ninetales before. Even if Brother Huyu has mastered hockey completely, but the time is so short, I am afraid that the Valley of the Gods is only a few months away. How far can observation hockey be trained in such a short time? How many armament hockey can I have? Thinking about it this way, he felt that it was not enough. However, anyway, the future is still very long, so he is not in a hurry. Maybe waiting for the next 1 million negative emotional value character card will give him a surprise, or the next 100,000 positive emotional value item card will make him stronger quickly. After thinking about it, he decided to go to the New World with Tuyuro. Anyway, he would be safe with Sub-Air Miasma, but he entered himself into the dark space first, and then manifested Tuyuro. Tuyuro appeared in the pirate world. His height of more than 2 meters is unusual in other worlds, but it is very common in the pirate world. There are even many freaks of 3 meters and 4 meters in the pirate world. He was wearing a light green overcoat that looked like a military uniform. He had a strong body and black sunglasses. He looked like a strong man. After he appeared, he glanced at the town in front of him and put his hands in his pockets. He walked forward calmly. The miasma attached to his back became his substitute. Genichi took over Toguro's body, put away the dark space with a thought, and quietly walked towards the boat that was about to set off for the New World. There are only 2 ways to go to the New World from the first half of the Grand Line. One is to pass through the Holy Land Mariejois on the Red Line in a legal way, and the other is the pirate method, which is to reach 10,000 meters under the sea by coating in Sabayati Go via the Fishmen Island. Now the buildings above the Sabayati archipelago have been almost destroyed by Ninetales, and they won't be able to recover for a while, so they can only enter through the legal Mariejois method, which is definitely fatal for pirates, but for Tulu it doesn't make sense. He is not a pirate, and the incidents of Ninetales and Zero cannot be traced to him. With his identity, he has never done anything harmful to nature, and there is no problem in taking legal channels. He has a lot of money on him, which he stuffed into his body from the auction house when he escaped from Sabayati. Although he can't carry a lot of money in his pocket, the minimum expenses are still enough. The cost of boarding the ship is completely within the scope of affordability. Although Mariejois was also bombarded by 9 tails, this is the card of the world government after all, and it is impossible to stop normal shipping because of this kind of thing. Otherwise, this is not to say that the world government does not even have this kind of organizational strength, and it is easy to be attacked once. Can't even drive with this function. When the money is rich and powerful in the future, I will install a clone in the marine as an undercover agent. It will be easier to do things under official cover at that time. Genichi thought to himself, as for declaring war on the world government, it is impossible now. His current strength is not enough for a shock from the world government's big wave. Let's talk about the complete overthrow of the world government when we are stuck. But using that set of rhetoric to exchange some emotional value, if he has a relationship with the news agency now, he will definitely say everything he and Zephyr said, and it will definitely cause a wider range of stronger emotional fluctuations. Unfortunately, it is still too young, and the foundation is too shallow. On the way to Mariejois he thought a lot, especially about future plans. And when he arrived at the holy land of Mariejois and was about to disembark, Toguro grinned, showing his white teeth. The positive emotion value finally broke through 100,000. This meant that he might finally draw out a prop that was of some use to him. The stewed beef with potatoes almost killed him off. The holy land of Mariejois is located on the Red Line. If you want to reach Mariejois from the sea, you need to stop at the Red Harbor, below the Red Line, and then be lifted up by the bubble cage of Sabayati Archipelago. Toguro got off the boat and entered the bubble to go up, while Genichi in the dark space on his shoulder started to draw cards. With 100,000 positive emotion points, it is always necessary to give him something useful, preferably something that can come in handy in the future. Sheep Talisman. From Jackie Chan's Adventures, it is one of the 12 powers of the Holy Lord. It can leave the body. The separated soul can enter the body of a person without a soul and manipulate it, and can also enter the dreams of others. You can even force the soul of another person to leave your body. It turned out to be this thing. In the dark space, a regular octagonal stone talisman appeared in Genichi's hand, with a light green sheep pattern engraved on it. It was the prop he got by drawing a card, and exchanged 100,000 positive emotional points of magical spells. It's a pity that it's not a dog charm or a horse charm. The cow charm and the rabbit charm are also good. Dogs or horses have the ability of immortality or healing. With one of them, 2 can easily use the 100% of 100% mode, that is, the power of 120%. Otherwise, 2 would be under a great physical burden, and would even be easily crushed by his own powerful strength. If he had hockey, he might be able to load for a longer period of time, which is why he pursued hockey. After all, if it is not the final form, it is difficult for 2 to compete with the top powerhouses in the world of pirates. The bull charm and the rabbit charm increase strength and increase speed, and they are also props that can directly enhance combat power. As for the sheep charm, it is very powerful to introduce, and it seems that it can make people win the house, but this thing can definitely be blocked by the powerful hockey, and other people's bodies may not be able to adapt to it, which is of little use to him. But it's interesting to enter someone else's dream. Entering the dream, then it is also possible to enter the mind, so wouldn't it be possible to obtain hockey's practice method directly from the subconscious of others? It just happened to catch up with them. A smile curled up on Genichi's mouth. Inside Mariejois, there was someone who definitely knew how hockey practiced. Garp, really think there's no price to pay for eating 9 tails meat? Genichi murmured. When fighting against 9 tails, Garp was swallowed by 9 tails, but he actually imitated 9 tails and bit off a piece of meat in its stomach, although 9 tails is an aggregate of chakra, but the body structure can also be eaten, but this method is very dangerous. In the world of Hokage, there are 2 people called Jinjiao. They are the ones who gained great power because they ate the meat of 9 tails. Except for them, all other imitators died. At Cloud Shinobi Village there was even an experiment with eating 8 tails meat, but none of them succeeded. Of course, Garp will suffer backlash if he eats the meat of 9 tails, but the physical fitness of the people in Pirate World is outrageous, and Genichi doesn't want this big emotional value provider to die like this, so he is also curbing the energy of 9 tails toxicity. In this way, the poison has not yet exploded in Garp's body, and Genichi has gained 2 benefits, or discovered 2 applications of his abilities. The first application is that he can always monitor the position of the garp that ate the flesh and blood of Nine Tails, just like a radar can accurately locate it. The second is a discovery. Genichi found that when garp ate the meat of Nine Tails, the emotional value he provided to himself increased sharply. He speculated that people in this world could provide him with emotional value, and once the creations produced with emotional value are fed back to the people in this world, which will make their connection with themselves closer, and the higher their emotional value will be provided. And there is one more strange place. That is the same three admirals, at least for now. There is not much difference in their strength, but Genichi found that even when he did not swallow the flesh and blood of Nine Tails, garp's emotional value was greater than Sengoku's and Zephyr's. There is not much difference at this stage, and the mood swings should be similar. Later, emotional values from all over the world also swarmed in, and he made a guess based on the amount of these emotional values. That is to say, the more important people are to this world, the more emotional value they will contribute. For example, the current Roger's strength should be inferior to Rock's. At most it is about the same level as Rock's, but the emotional value provided by Roger far exceeds Rock's, and the two are not even at the same level. After discovering these settings, Genichi felt that it might not be impossible to collect 100 million emotional values. Because the most important person to this world has not yet been born. Monkey D. Luffy, the future protagonist of One Piece, the sun god, Joey Boy, if it were him, he would definitely be able to give himself a rich emotional income beyond imagination. In particular, Luffy is a person with very big mood swings. Maybe in the future, as his mood points increase and become more difficult to collect, Luffy will be his further hope. Then you can't let Luffy not be born. Before that sun god appears, you should be gentle with this world. Genichi said softly, well, the world can't just sit idle. Then, Toguro successfully arrived at Mariejois, and according to Genichi's radar, Garp and the others were also in Mariejois, preparing to leave for New World. It's getting so late. Huyulu raised his head and saw that the sky had gradually darkened. He was walking quietly on the road to the Holy Land. At this moment, he could clearly see that a part of this magnificent city was actually being rebuilt rapidly, and the main force of the reconstruction was naturally that's a lot of slaves. Mariejois is said to be a holy place, but it is the darkest and most filthy territory in the world, because it is the gathering place of the lowest energy and most disgusting celestial dragons. The operation of the whole city depends on a large number of slaves, and here they are doing nothing. The labors of the night, and never cease, or only death. What Toguro can see, Genichi can naturally see too. And what he hates the most are these people who play with slaves. Get a good night's sleep. Toguro and Genichi spoke at the same time. Let's meet each other in a dream. Although I hate slave owners, some of these slaves actually deserve what they deserve. In this world, or the population auctions in Sabayati, most of the auctions are actually pirates. Pirates are no different from the disgusting existence of slave owners. Only Genichi stayed in the world of pirates. In the past few hours, I have seen many villages looted and even slaughtered by pirates. This is still in the first half of the Grand Line where Naval Headquarters is located. I really can't imagine how crazy the pirates in New World will be. Moreover, he also possesses 1% of the power of Nine Tails. Nine Tails has its own good and evil recognition radar, so he can easily judge that the rebuilt city is a gathering place for a group of scum. No matter how miserable the pirates are as slaves after being caught, it can't change the evil things they did before. After I get Haki, I will send you back to the west. It will be a relief for you. Genichi stayed in the dark space, and the dark space stopped silently at the Holy Land, while Toguro went to the other side of the Red Line, to the Red Harbor in the New World, and went down as a bubble cage, but because it was too late, there was no boat out to sea. There are still a large number of warships parked at the port, and idlers cannot stay in the Holy Land for too long, and Toguro is not very interested in the Holy Land. There must be many masters of Haki on those marine warships. As long as they enter there in the brain consciousness, it is easy to look up relevant information. Among them, Marine 6 Styles is likely to be Haki's practice method. After training to ultimate, Haki is Haki. Among them, Iron Body was directly said by Jinbei to be armament Haki. Although Marine 6 styles can only be learned by a certain level of Marine officers, but in fact, it is not a secret to the real strong, and it should not be difficult to obtain. And just as he had imagined, Toyulu entered a hotel, and when he got to the room, it was already late at night. He held a regular octagonal charm in his hand, and with a little effort, the sheep charm was released the next moment, emit a light. The Genichi consciousness existing in Toguro's body found that he was maintaining Toguro's soul state and left his body. In fact, these avatars of Genichi have some weak instincts. Even if Genichi didn't put his soul into them, they can also do things according to Genichi's instructions, but the instinct is very mechanical. He originally thought that when he put his consciousness into the body of the clone, using the sheep charm to separate his soul from the body would also affect his own body, but he didn't expect that after leaving Toyulu's body, his Genichi body was still in the dark space, but it was not affected in any way. That's just right, don't delay things, Genichi thought, and then entered into Marine's dream. The dream is actually the subconscious projection of the human brain. As long as you master the deeper power, you can naturally sneak into the deeper part of the brain. After all, the ability of the sheep charm is the ability of the soul to leave the body and enter body instead of just diving into dreams. It's just that this kind of infiltration also requires the user to be strong enough. Genichi is backed by such a powerful character as Toyuro, so he won't be blocked by some rear admiral vice admiral, and he can easily sneak into their brains, and relevant information was obtained. It is mainly the practice method of the 6 postures. Actually, it is not difficult to practice. Of course, it is for Huyulu, but he didn't know the method of practice at all before. Got what he wanted, but Genichi didn't get it. With such a good thing, wouldn't it be too wasteful not to do evil in the dream? What he needs is emotion. In the state of soul, Toguro shuttled freely among the warships, and finally came to Sengoku's place. Originally, he wanted to find Garp, but after seeing Sengoku, he had a new idea. He first entered Sengoku's dream, which was a blank world. Obviously he did not dream, but he could do many things in this kind of soul communication by mastering the sheep charm. For example, his body has changed, from the original burly man to a man in black with an ice mask on his face, and his explosive muscles have also been retracted. In the dream world, he wants to changing his image. Then, he appeared in front of Sengoku. Originally in the blank world, Sengoku just closed his eyes, sleeping peacefully like his body, until Genichi approached. Sengoku suddenly opened his eyes. "Who are you?" Sengoku shouted loudly. He didn't know that he was in a dream, and this place was extremely real. Even in his sleep, his sense of knowledge still reminded him that someone came over. He opened his eyes, only to see a person wearing a black ice mask who couldn't see his face at all appeared in front of him. Sengoku's pupils shrank. Speaking of wearing a mask, didn't Zephyr meet one not long ago? Although the image and mask are different, but Sengoku is ready for battle. Me. Genichi raised the corner of his mouth under the ice, and said in a relaxed tone, "Am I a visitor from hell? Or a messenger from the Pure Land? I don't know. How to choose is up to you." In me, Sengoku frowned, and for some reason, he felt that Genichi in front of him was somewhat familiar. Of course it will be familiar, because Sengoku didn't realize that this is a dream at all, so the dominance in the dream is naturally controlled by Genichi a little bit. What happens in the dream is reasonable. Logic does not exist in this world. No one in this world has been able to see me for many years. Genichi smiled. You are the one who ate the fruit of the great Buddha, so you can get the power, wisdom, and spirit of the Buddha, and become a master of both mind and body skills. Extreme people, only in this way can they have the ability to see me. Quote. Sengoku didn't speak. It's no secret in the world that he ate the devil fruit in the form of human fruit, phantasmal beast, and great Buddha. He was not surprised when the other party knew this, and he couldn't explain anything at all. Are you also from that invisible empire? Same as 0 and 9 tails. Sengoku was sitting on the ground with his legs in meditation. Now he is standing up. He is taller than Genichi. A lot of invisible empire. So that's it, it's quite suitable for the name of their country. Genichi said softly. However, this old man is different from them. You can see this old man because of your strength, but... Quote. Genichi held out his hand. His right hand was gradually turning into guanghua. Sure enough, it's still very reluctant. Genichi seems to be dissipating, starting from the hand. The dissipating speed is not fast, but it is proceeding unswervingly. Sengoku frowned. He was called the resourceful general, and he was naturally not a reckless man. He would not come up and want to do something to this unknown person, but he wanted to get more information through words. However, Genichi started to dissipate within a short period of time after appearing, which he did not expect. Isn't it very difficult to guess the other party's purpose in this way? In the process of dissipating, Genichi did not show any pain, but said calmly, when your body and mind catch up with the devil fruit, the power triggered is awakening, and the owner of the Buddha fruit should surpass the devil fruit physically and mentally. When you become devil fruit, you will awaken, and if you can see me, it means that you have already walked on this road. Enlightenment, an obvious Buddhist term, is a realm that can only be achieved by a Buddha. It is very reasonable to use it in the form of a great Buddha. And obviously, Sengoku doesn't understand the theory that Genichi made up, but he's definitely right about the first part. When devil fruit's body and mind catch up with the power of the fruit, it represents the awakening of the fruit. The front is right, so the back should be right too, right? At this moment, Genichi's entire arm has dissipated, and the speed of that dissipation seems to have accelerated. Wait a minute. Seeing this scene, Sengoku didn't have time to think too much. He hurriedly shouted, "What is the invisible empire? And who are you?" Invisible and visible things, they have always existed around the world. You should be aware of it, the power of the Nine-Tails demon fox, and it will be active again soon, although you may not see it this time. Genichi said softly, "We will meet again, and when we meet next time, you can call me." He turned around slowly. At this moment more than half of his body had dissipated, the speed was getting faster and faster, only one head was left, and this last part was enough for him to say the last 3 words. Indra. Sengoku woke up instantly. Is it just a dream? But, is there such a real dream? Sengoku stretched out his hands, his eyes lost. He was still thinking about the words of that person in the dream, and found that every word was so clear. He got off the bed, not knowing why he was always restless. Is it because of what D. Shishin said, Nine-Tails Demon Fox will be active again soon? Obviously just a dream. However, it does not rule out that this is the ghost of other demon fruit power. He walked on the deck of the warship, enjoying the cool wind blowing over, and stepped out of the heaviness before. He jumped to another warship, ready to meet Garp. He had a bad feeling, and he wanted to tell Garp what happened just now. Sengoku Admiral. Another ship, Marine, who was patrolling, saw Sengoku and immediately saluted. Sengoku nodded and asked, "Where's Garp?" "Vice Admiral Garp is in the cabin, he should be sleeping." "Well, patrol well." Sengoku walked towards the depths of the warship, but just as he entered, he felt a slight abnormality. Good. What an evil breath. Beads of sweat appeared on Sengoku's face for a moment, and his knowledge told him that the air here was filled with evil, that kind of resentment, that kind of terror. It was just. It is exactly the same as the previous Nine-Tails. Is it now that Indra said that Nine-Tails will appear again? Is it here? He rushed forward in an instant, and directly kicked away all the rooms that were the source of evil, but when the room was kicked open, what was exposed inside? Was it Garp who was sleeping soundly? No, is Garp really asleep right now? Garp's body was filled with a layer of light red, and all the evil aura came out of this layer of red. Under Garp's body, there seemed to be a tail slowly growing. Garp! Sengoku yelled and wanted to wake Garp up, but Garp didn't notice it. Normally, he should have woken up a long time ago, but now he didn't even move. Sure enough, there were oddities. Sengoku recalled what Garp did before in his mind for a moment. His pupils narrowed and he said softly, "Could it be because he ate the meat of Nine-Tails?" I'm afraid this is the only possibility, and the thought that came out of it is even more terrifying. Could it be that the reappearance of Nine-Tails mentioned by D. Shishin means that Garp will be controlled by Nine-Tails? Hey, you fool, wake me up. Sengoku wanted to go forward to wake Garp up, but a force burst out from Garp's body, and Sengoku's hand felt as if it was being pricked by a needle. That's not just the power of Nine-Tails, but the power of Garp. I see, are you dealing with that big fox? Sengoku seemed to understand something and said softly, "Don't lose to lousy." Garp, 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 Garp. In a world of darkness, Garp woke up suddenly. And the moment he woke up, the black clouds in the sky suddenly swelled and twisted, and a huge silhouette of a monster appeared. Nine-Tails Demon Fox, are you alive? Garp looked at the nine tails that suddenly appeared in the sky, pinched his nostrils and said, what a stubborn guy. Nine-Tails lived with a grudge, and certainly won't die. Suddenly, a voice came from the direction of Nine-Tails. Garp raised his head and found a person sitting on Nine-Tails' head. That grumpy, destroying monster who would have someone sit on his head. Garp looked at the man. He was wearing a black robe with a hood, and a mask on his face so that the face could not be seen clearly. He was a guy who completely wrapped himself up. However, Garp's pupils shrank, because he had seen this person, in the newspaper, photograph the Zero, talking to Zephyr with a camera. Only a few people in the entire world government knew about Zephyr's conversation with Zero, including him, so he was shocked at this moment. This guy, the guy who declared war on the world government, actually appeared again. Zero, what are you going to do again? Garp clenched his fists and said, who the hell are you guys? Zero, that is, Genichi naturally sat on the head of Nine-Tails, and said in a relaxed tone, I just came to meet the marine hero who ate the flesh and blood of Nine-Tails, and by the way, the meat of Nine-Tails is not that good food. That's right. Garp laughed loudly, I think it's delicious, and I want to have another bite. Just like now, I suddenly want to eat fox meat. There's no need to rush this kind of thing. Genichi said lightly, the recovery of Nine-Tails will take some time. Don't think that you can appease the resentment of Nine-Tails. To prove this, we will launch an attack on your holy land, Mariejois. Quote ? Quote. Garp's pupils dilated. This group of daring guys actually wanted to attack Mariejois again. Do you think I'll let you do this kind of thing? Garp jumped into the air for an instant, and then punched heavily. The powerful armament hockey condensed on the fist, but the nine tails in the sky seemed to have no entity. Zero, it was also illusory. His punch directly penetrated the past without causing any damage. It's not a question of whether you let it go or not. Genichi and Nine Tails still stood where they were, but turned around after Garp passed through. Even though he was wearing a mask, he could still imagine Genichi's teasing look. Rather, we've done it. Okay, I still want to say something more, but it looks like your companion has come. Genichi looked at Garp, who was about to attack again. He stood up from the head of Nine Tails. Don't think you can control Nine Tails even if it's just a part of your body, but when you are dominated by resentment and pain, you can also become the new Nine Tails. His body gradually disappeared, and Garp shouted angrily, Stop. Zero, who the hell are you yet? Go ahead and guess. Genichi's chuckle said, We are afraid of being invisible. The next moment, the whole world fell apart, and the interlaced reality and fantasy collapsed. Garp woke up from the dream for a moment, and then sat up from the bed, panting heavily. Garp, what happened? Sengoku, who was standing aside at the moment, asked quickly after seeing Garp wake up. Garp was about to answer, but was startled suddenly. Because, from above, a huge roar suddenly came from the sky above the entire Red Harbor. Boom! Immediately, there was a shock. Even if they were below the red line, they could still feel the huge roar coming from Mariejois, the holy land above the red line. Someone attacked the holy place of Mariejois. It's Nine Tails. Garp and Sengoku got the answer almost at the same time, and said these three words at the same time. The two of them couldn't help but look at each other, and at the same time saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Let's talk on the way. Stop Nine Tails first. In the holy place of Mariejois, bright stars twinkle in the sky, dispelling a little bit of darkness from this gloomy city. After the normal residents and celestial dragons fell asleep in the Holy Land, a large number of slaves were released from their cages to repair the huge city. And in the part that was destroyed by Nine Tails before, there are still many guards, and many subordinates of celestial dragons are holding long whips, urging the many slaves inside to rebuild the destroyed city area. Nine Tails' tailed beast bomb, even though it was far away, still possessed terrifying energy, but even so, in the hands of many slaves who could not rest, more than half of the destroyed area had been rebuilt. But now, they are still working under the threat of CPR guards, without any rest at all. In this instant, however, they will get their wished-for stop, and forever. In an area not far from the rebuilt city, a dark chasm suddenly appeared. Then, a streak of red appeared. At this moment, a huge condensed energy suddenly appeared in the darkness, and the next moment it turned into a red torrent and blasted towards that area. Everything along the way was blown away by the storm caused by this huge energy, and finally it slammed into the new building. Boom! Although far inferior to the tailed beast bomb released by Nine Tails before, this time the distance was closer, and the explosion produced was also very strong. In just an instant, a large number of worker slaves and guards holding long whips were swallowed inside. A huge mushroom cloud rose again in the Holy Land not long after, and the sudden huge vibration and sound shook the entire Mariejois. People could hardly believe how long it had been since the previous Sabayati archipelago incident. This holy place, which was originally the safest in the world, was bombarded and destroyed again. Moreover, after a beam of light was generated, a beam of light appeared again in that dark crack, and this time the beam did not shoot at the ruined area before, but at abode of the celestial dragons in the depths of the Holy Land of Mariejois. Boom! There was another huge roar and strong flash. The powerful energy destroyed a large number of buildings. A large number of celestial dragons were swallowed by high temperature and heat in their sleep. However, at the same time, a large number of soldiers appeared in the Holy Land. They are CP0 and some of the deeper guard, God warriors. At this moment, Genichi, who has used the power of Nine Tails to transform into a tailed beast in the dark space of sub-air miasma, no longer launches tailed beast bombs. 2 tailed beast bombs should be the limit, because he knows very well that the entire Mariejois surveillance is everywhere. The location where he fired 2 tailed beast bombs just now should have been exposed, so he has to retreat quickly. After all, no matter how you say it, this place is the sacred place of the world government, where the highest power 5 elders is located. There may not be any kind of master, maybe there will be demon fruit power from the space department or other troublesome people. His purpose of coming this time has been achieved. Bombing the tailed beast bomb twice should be enough to ignite the news that was about to go silent before, and let Sengoku and Garp have a prophetic dream, especially Sengoku appearing as a new character is mainly to reap positive emotions from Marine in the future. After all, the setting of Zero is the enemy of the world government, and it is to destroy the order. It mainly harvests the negative emotions of Marines and the positive emotions of pirates. The positive emotions of pirates, the negative emotions of pirates will do. At this moment, Mariejois has become more and more chaotic. More and more people wake up from their dreams. The footsteps of a large number of government troops and guards are mixed with people's shouts. The whole Mariejois is blocked in an instant, and no one can go out. However, such a blockade cannot stop Genichi at all, because he himself is in the space, and this blockade cannot stop the movement of the space at all. By the time the people in Mariejois carefully identified the monitoring and discovered that the special energy appeared from a crack in space, Genichi had already left Mariejois and headed towards the new world with Toguro. This is provocation. Mariejois, the highest authority, where the 5 elders are located. One of them said angrily, after Nine Tails declared war before, this time they did this kind of thing directly in the Holy Land. From the monitoring point of view, the enemy has the ability to penetrate space, so it's difficult to deal with. Another 5 elders also said in a deep voice, if this is the case, isn't it telling us that they can freely come and go anywhere, and they can wanton destruction of all places? It was just bombing before, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow the light beam will come towards us. However, judging from the energy comparison of the 2 times separated by a few days, even if Nine Tails was not successfully eliminated, it must have been seriously injured, otherwise it would not have the same level of destructive power as today. If it was the period of Sabayati, the tailed beast bomb that could destroy an island with 1 shot, might destroy more than half of Mariejois with 2 shots. Then catch them before they regain their strength. Let Marine, CP, and all the franchise countries all dispatch. I agree. Support. Also, just in case. Seeing that the others basically agreed, 5 elders, who was the first to speak, said again, within 3 days, all, non-Marine, CP, world government officials who have come to Mariejois, everyone other than, take to Mariejois, and if there is resistance, kill them directly. He made a very cold proposal. The Holy Land is the dividing point between the front and back half of the Grand Line. It is hard to know how many people will come and go in one day, but he actually said that he would catch everyone within 3 days. However, Such a proposal actually made the other four seriously think about it, and there were even some who echoed it. Or use an excuse to catch or kill them too. This is world government, such is the arrogance of celestial dragons. Just because there is a possibility, such a level of massacre can be carried out. Especially those who pass through that space crack, they should pay special attention. Another celestial dragons threw a few photos on the table. This is the people who have walked through that area in the past few days, especially these few people should pay special attention. Among these photos, one of them is 2 €. What happened to them? Not only did they pass by the space crack, but they also went to look at the destroyed new urban area. I think they should be brought back as soon as possible. HMPH, isn't Marines Admiral Sengoku here? And that Garp who doesn't want to be promoted to Admiral, let them bring these guys back as soon as possible. Makes sense. Support. I agree. These absurd proposals were quickly passed, which is jaw-dropping, and Genichi probably never imagined that just because Toguro passed by his area and just took a look at the Shinjian city, he was already targeted by the 5 elders, and even asked Admiral to do it. It's just that, if he didn't know it until now, that wouldn't be the case. Because, he has a great intrinsic effect of Garp. He can use the power of 9 tails on Garp to sense the situation over there, and he can also judge everyone's situation through the emotional value income situation that sounds in his mind. So when the 5 elders order reaches Garp's after going online, he sensed the emotional value income from Garp and Sengoku, so he felt it specially. It's really troublesome. Now I have to face Admiral. Genichi said softly. He decided that it would be better for his body to get off the next island, and not to stay with Toguro, so as to save himself from being wiped out. The main reason is that he doesn't know what means the celestial dragons have. If there is a person with the ability to block the space or break the space passage, then it may not be safe in the dark space, so it is better to sell Huyulu first. He himself never thought about staying with Toyulu forever. He is a person who can separate himself. Why should he do things by himself? If you want to do something, isn't it all right if you have a clone? It's just that he is absolutely unwilling to let him lose a clone like this. During this period of time, he wants to let 2 € train hockey well, and give 2 € a gift before parting. 2 days have passed since the Mariejois bombing incident. At least for now, Garp and Sengoku have not traced his location. After all, there are so many people wanted by 5 elders, and he left directly after the bombing. The Marines stayed in Mariejois. It took a while, so I didn't find him so quickly. Positive sentiment value. Negative sentiment value. During these 2 days, his emotional value has been increasing rapidly, and the positive emotional value has increased faster than before. He didn't know why at first, but he figured it out later. Most of the people in this world who hate celestial dragons are poor people. Most of them are civilians, and they happen to be the ones with the most closed news, and it takes a long time for ordinary people to receive news soon. Therefore, with the passage of time and fermentation, more and more people will know what 9 tails did in Sabayati Archipelago, especially. There are also quite a few civilians who are more afraid of the power of 9 tails and contribute negative emotions, which leads to a very outrageous ratio of negative emotions to positive emotions, and it may take a long time to receive positive emotions from those really poor people value. However, now 100,000 positive emotion points are enough. In order to deal with the next Sengoku or Garp, he needs a prop in terms of combat power, just like the cow and rabbit charm he thought before. You can only dodge for a while or draw a million level character again. 4 Soul Jade Fragments 5. From the world of Inuyasha, it is a fragment produced after the complete 4 Soul Jade is shattered, which can increase the user's power. The more fragments, the more abilities you have. Jade can fulfill the wish of the user. When drawing a card, hold the Jade Fragment of the 4 Souls in your hand, which can increase the probability of drawing the Jade Fragment of the 4 Souls. The merchant ship went to an island for resupply, and Genichi parted ways with Toguro completely, and before leaving, he gave the 5 4 Soul Jade Fragments to 2 €. The Jade of the 4 Souls is a good thing. The Jade Fragments of the 4 Souls are also very useful to him now. He is in need of props to increase his combat power. The Jade Fragments of the 4 Souls can increase his body functions and demonic aura. Although Toguro is not a monster in the world of Inuyasha, but since it can be drawn out, it can definitely be shared. The Jade of the Four Souls is a treasure that runs through the world of Inuyasha. It is the product of the fusion of the souls of a large number of monsters and Priestess Queasy, and it has extremely powerful power. It's just that now it's broken into fragments, so it's impossible to reproduce the full power of the Jade of Four Souls, but now these 5 fragments of Jade of Four Souls can be regarded as a great help. He originally wanted to wait for a while longer, and then face Garp or Sengoku after Toguro trained Haki to a level good enough to deal with Admiral Valley arrangement. That's why he decided to draw a card at this time. He inlaid the 5 fragments of the Jade of the Four Souls into his heart and limbs respectively, exactly 5 pieces. After fusing the fragments of the Jade of the Four Souls, Huyulu only felt that his body and demon power were constantly growing. Moreover, this kind of power also gave him the ability to repair himself, so he has a little more confidence in using the 100% form of the strongest 100%. He was wearing sunglasses and sitting in the banquet on the deck. This is a merchant ship, and the final destination is a small country not far from the Red Line. He leaned on the deck chair and didn't care about the noise in other places, just himself looking at the sea in the distance. With a strong physical fitness as a base, Haki is making rapid progress, at least now he has reached the level of an ordinary grandmaster. Although he can't compare with the top ones, but at this moment his observation Haki is telling him that there are boats everywhere, coming. Here we come. He wore sunglasses and didn't panic at all. The merchant ship stopped abruptly, and it seemed that the captain had noticed the approaching warship. From what he sensed about Garp, he wasn't around, so it was Sengoku who came to get him. The people on the deck who were enjoying themselves before felt that the ship stopped suddenly and were having doubts or even going to complain, but they stopped after seeing the warship approaching from the side. Why did Marine come to this ship? Is there any wanted criminal? People suddenly fell into a panic. Huyulu slowly stood up, put his hands in his pockets and was about to leave. Stop. Suddenly, someone yelled at Huyulu, but the latter ignored it and continued on his way. Then several Marines with guns ran out from the crowd. It seemed that they had sneaked into the merchant ship long ago. Bingo. Step aside. Looking at a Marine in normal clothes standing in front of him, Toguro said calmly. The plain words seemed to carry an unquestionable majesty. He was wearing black sunglasses, but he seemed to be stared at by a pair of extremely sharp eyes. This Marine didn't dare to breathe at this moment, because from who there is an extremely terrifying power hidden in Yulu's body, forming a phantom of a devil behind him. Ha! Just looking at Toyulu, as if he was about to be crushed, his face was distorted, sweat dripped down uncontrollably, as if he was about to kneel down in a second. However, just when he was about to lose his hold, someone patted him on the shoulder, and a burly man came out. It was Admiral Sengoku. He had captured several other people in the past few days, and now the rest Huyulu was the only one left. This guy is also to blame for Garp. Originally, Mariejois said that the two of them should be separated to capture those suspicious elements, but that guy Garp completely ignored the order and said something like, "New World's pirates are more important. This task will be handed over to you, Sengoku Admiral," and ran directly to the depths of New World. Huyulu was the first to leave among all the people, and he was also the one who went the farthest, so he had all this time, but this guy is different from those before. Although it was the first time they met and hadn't had any collisions yet, Sengoku already knew in his heart that he was a strong man when he saw Toyuro. His observation Haki is reminding him that this is a completely different opponent from those captured before, so he directly stood up and said, "Toyuro, a businessman from the Sabayati archipelago, because he was attacked by the Nine-Tails demon fox. We came to New World because of the attack, and now we have some doubts about the Nine-Tails demon fox. We need witnesses from the Sabayati archipelago. Please come with us." Toyuro is still the same as before, and he is not moved after hearing Sengoku's words. This identity is just a false information filled in to get on this ship. As long as you have money, you can easily do this thing. What's more, the buildings on the Sabayati archipelago have been destroyed, and no one can investigate now. Toyuro glanced at Sengoku, turned around slowly, and under Sengoku's gaze, he walked to the front of the guardrail of the merchant ship, jumped a few hundred meters away with a light leap, and stood directly on the sea. Landed on the sea from a height of tens of meters, but did not stir up waves, and even produced a little ripple on the sea surface. This degree of control over the body and strength is perfect. Sengoku's pupils shrank. He is an ability user who ate devil fruit. Naval battles are his weakness. However, it is impossible for him to fight on this merchant ship loaded with a large number of rich merchants, but the opponent is the one who surprised him the most. It doesn't look like it can be solved easily. I thought it would be an easy task. I blame that Garp guy. If he was there, why would it be so troublesome? Aren't you trying to stop me? Huyulu stood on the sea and said calmly, but he didn't leave directly, but just stood there, looking at Sengoku standing on the merchant ship without any waves on his face. Is the incident between Sabayati Archipelago and Mariejois related to you? Sengoku stood on the boat and asked loudly. At the same time, Marine had blocked the merchants on board into their respective rooms, so Sengoku was the only one on the deck. Do you know that? Zero. Huyulu said blankly, that's what Zero did, and it has nothing to do with me. Sengoku's pupils startled. You know Zero? That mysterious man, Zephyr said, he might be more dangerous than any pirates. They searched a lot of information, but they couldn't find such a person, and now they want to know about it from a suspect information yet. Could it be that these two incidents are also related to this man? He came to me about a month ago before Nine Tails came. Tuyuro looked at Sengoku's expression, and suddenly the corner of his mouth raised a little. He invited me to join an invisible empire, but I declined. It's really unexpected that he can make such a big incident. Invite you, Sengoku murmured. In this case, it is even more impossible to let you go like this. In an instant, a golden light shone from his body, and his body swelled rapidly, turning into a huge golden body. Sengoku looked at Tuyuro standing on the sea, and knew his importance very well in his heart. He must not let this person go. So after seeing that Toyulu didn't seem to want to say more, he immediately used force to stop the opponent, even if he was standing on the sea, even if the opponent was very skilled, but Sengoku would not stand still because of this. He was Marine Admiral. Shockwave. The golden body Sengoku swung a punch, which immediately led to a powerful storm, which was enough to cause damage to that monster Nine Tails, and it should be effortless to deal with a tiny individual like Tuyuro. Before the huge force touched Uzumaki, the sea below roared endlessly. The sea surface seemed to be pressed by a huge pressure and turned violently, and Tuyuro stood in the center of Uzumaki on the sea surface, watching the huge fist swung from the boat suddenly move. First of all, his upper body began to swell, tearing the windbreaker in an instant, showing his explosive muscles to the world, and at the same time his arms turned black. Seeing the punch from the boat, he blasted his fist with the same force. Boom! The momentary collision made the whole sea area seem to be boiling. The huge force directly cut through the sea area behind the merchant ship where Toguro and Sengoku were located, and extended to the end of the line of sight. At this moment, they were even more shocked by this force, because they felt as if something was about to forcibly leave their bodies. There was only Sengoku on the deck of the merchant ship, but on other warships there were many Marines with guns aiming at Tuyuro, but at this moment their bodies suddenly collapsed. Sengoku's pupils shook. He could feel those Marines that fall. Already dead. Is this Conqueror's hockey? No, not even hockey from Conquerors can do that. Conquerors can stun people, but it's unheard of to directly deprive people of their lives. Stop! Sengoku shouted loudly, but Toguro's strength was beyond his imagination. Although he had vaguely seen that he possessed extremely strong power when he saw him before, he never thought that his power could be so powerful. Although this blow was not considered to be his full strength, it was absolutely rare in this sea to receive it. However, Tuyuro's body became extremely weird, and his muscles were not like what a human could possess. The shoulders spread out even more, and the fist that was swung did not back down in the face of the shock wave released by the Golden Buddha. Boom! A huge roar erupted, and the collision of these two huge forces separated the result at this moment. The huge Uzumaki on the bottom of the sea appeared, and the collision of forces produced a change in the world. It was heard that he remained motionless in the storm, despite the howling wind. And the huge merchant ship fell apart at this moment. Sengoku had to use the broken merchant ship to jump to Marine's warship. In the process he only saw the people who fell from the broken merchant ship and his own ship. Many of the Marines have lost the breath of life. These people were oppressed to death just because of Toguro's powerful aura, because Toguro is now in a 100% state, and if he is weak in this state, he will be unconsciously exuded by the demon crushed to death alive. Of course, if he wanted to control it, he could still forcefully control that breath and release it indiscriminately. Most of those people who were oppressed to death by him were inclined to evil in Ninetales' malicious perception, so he didn't have any psychological burden. And in fact, Genichi's view of this world itself is very strange. He became a slave just after crossing into this world, and discovered his abilities after spending a dark time, which made him have no idea about this world. Any real feeling is more like experiencing a virtual online games. Does anyone feel guilty about killing a few people in-game? Genichi actually had such a feeling in his heart, because the murderer is also a clone. It is really like manipulating characters in a game. However, it is of course impossible for Sengoku to understand what Toyulu is thinking. He only has anger in his heart now. He did not expect that someone could cause so many casualties in front of him, but what is even more angry is that he is still in this situation. There is no way to take the other party. Huyulu. What was the change in his body just now? Is it devil fruit? In Sengoku's mind, there is still a picture of the changes before Toyuro swung his fist. At that time, the power emitted by him increased by countless times in an instant, and his muscles swelled out of shape. It is hard to imagine that this is normal, human power. But if it is demon fruit power, why go to the sea? Sengoku couldn't figure out Toyuro's details for a while. Don't worry, those who will be drawn by my power are all people with dark hearts. And after the one-punch collision, Toyuro has exited the 100% state. He looked at Sengoku, who jumped onto the warship, and said, maybe Zero came to me because he saw my essence. That's why he asked, do I want to change from a human to a monster? Monster. Sengoku's heart twitched. Although his chest was full of anger at the moment, he quickly calmed down after hearing Togiro's words. He tried to learn more clues about Zero from Toyuro. A monster is a creature that transcends human beings, is not subject to any restrictions, and can squander its own power wantonly. Toyuro took off his black sunglasses, looked at Sengoku with his eyes. The latter froze for a moment, because he saw a desire in Toyuro's gaze. What kind of desire is that? The desire to become stronger. I discovered a long time ago that human beings have limits. After reaching that height, no matter how hard you practice, it is difficult to continue to grow. Moreover, due to aging, the body's functions will even decline. At the same time, various diseases they will also swarm. No matter how strong people are, they will inevitably grow old. Zero came to me, who was aging, and told me to join them. If I joined them, I would become an immortal monster, but at that time, I refused to Zero, who suddenly appeared. Toyuro looked at Sengoku with a solemn face, and finally said, even if I want to become a monster, I will not join any organization or submit to anyone. I want to use my own way to become a monster. Just use the Jade of the Four Souls. Jade of the Four Souls. Sengoku heard a completely unfamiliar vocabulary, and Toyuro did not hide his secrets, but said generously, this is a prop that can fulfill the user's wishes. It once turned me into a half-demon, and now I want to use it come and become a complete monster. Quote. After receiving a lot of information suddenly, Sengoku was still a little confused, but he knew that this time he would not be able to stop Toyuro. Huyulu's strength is very strong. He didn't use his full strength for that punch just now, but Huyulu probably didn't use his full strength either. It can be said that this guy has a fighting power comparable to his. Fighting such a person is definitely not a easy thing. If you want to take down Huyulu, you need to call Garp to take it in a short time, and you can't be on the sea. If you are on the sea, there are too many restrictions on him. For example, now Huyulu can use the sea to transform into the tsunami was coming, and if the opponent used seawater to fight, his disadvantage would be too great. We'll meet again. Toyulu put on the black sunglasses again, then turned around lightly, walked on the sea without any scruples, and left without hesitation. Sengoku bit his lip. Even if he wanted the Marines to fire shells, he couldn't do it, because most of the Marines fainted because of Togiro's aura, and even quite a few were directly crushed to death by that force. It is rare in the world and unheard of. Half-demon, monster, Toyulu, the Jade of the Four Souls, the Invisible Empire. Countless doubts filled Sengoku's mind. He just stood there, trying to figure it out in his mind, but there were too few clues. It seems that we can only report the news to Marshal Kong and 5 elders first, and then Go make peace with Garp first. The fusion of the Jade of the Four Souls and the use of Haki's 100% power are indeed powerful. And Huyulu, who was gradually going away, was still walking on the sea, feeling the strength just now in his heart. As the future marshal, Sengoku is one of the people recognized by One Piece Roger who can stop him. He has teamed up with Garp to defeat the legendary Golden Lion and Bullet. His strength is naturally beyond doubt. And now that he can draw with such a strong man, it proves that his strength is enough to interfere in the decisive battle of the Valley of Gods, and this time he used the 100% mode to make him discover a problem. Huyulu's use of power is not a simple multiple relationship, such as the 80% and 100% modes. The difference in power is not simply a difference of 20%. 80% of Toguro loses to Urahan Yusuke, 100% of Toguro can crush and even instantly kill Urahan Yusuke, not to mention there are 100% stronger 100%, but when he is in this world when I used it, I found something was wrong. At that time, he didn't have the jade fragments of the Four Souls, and he didn't have Haki. When he just drew Toyulu, he gradually used the power of each form of Huyulu, 45%, 80%, 100%. He has used both. At that time, his strength was indeed increased according to this multiple, and he could easily cross several levels. However, this time the battle with Sengoku did not have the same feeling as before. It's as if there is some kind of limitation in this world. When the strength reaches a certain level, it will become very difficult to become stronger. Just like the limit of the Shinigami world, the limiter of the One Punch Man world, this world seems to have such a thing in the dark. When the strength reaches a certain height, maybe the level of the future four emperors, the strength will improve slower and slower. No wonder, only drawing cards with 100 million emotional points can completely surpass the pirate world. It seems that the previous character cards and item cards must conform to the laws of this world, and strengthen yourself according to the strength of this world. The strong in this world exclude the unknown. Is nothing more than Roger, Rocks or Nico Luffy later, so the closer they are to their strength growth, the slower it will be. So when the strength reaches a very high level, even if you eat another devil fruit, there will be no qualitative change, just like Garp Roger Shanks, who can reach the world's top level with only Haki. Eat another devil fruit strength will undoubtedly continue to rise, but it is impossible to greatly increase one's own strength by eating devil fruit like before. In other words, 100 million emotional points are still very important. The previous character cards can use other methods to increase the level. It is even possible to make Mr. Satan a 4 Emperors level powerhouse as long as it is handled properly, but absolutely it is impossible to go beyond the limits of this world. You can become number 1 in the world, but you can't surpass the world itself. If you want to transcend this world, you must exchange it with 100 million emotional points. I really don't know what kind of character 100 million emotional points will be. How? Must have the ability to destroy the world, right? If it is stronger, the god of destruction in Dragon Ball. Saint Seiya, Super Tianyuan Breakthrough. However, it is definitely a long way to go to collect 100 million emotional points. After all, he used 9 tails to make such a big event, and the gains he got were only at the million level. The more difficult it is to obtain, after all, the growth is so slow just after breaking the million barrier. Moreover, it also separates the positive and negative emotional values, which adds to the difficulty of breaking through 100 million. Toyulu with 80% strength can crush weak monsters to death just by relying on monster energy, and 100% strength can even attract the power of some not weak monsters into his body to become food, but this is also inevitable. Toyulu was still thinking in his heart, the short fight with Sengoku just now made him feel a little tired. At present, it seems that his strength has reached the top level, but his stamina is a bit weak. The 100% state consumes too much stamina. Tuyuro has to suck the souls of other monsters to fill his stomach in battle. Jiu and practiced Haki did not get much attenuation. However, the self-healing ability attached to the Jade of the Four Souls prevents him from being unable to bear his own strength and die directly like the original Toguro. At most, it is not conducive to him fighting for a long time. Let's continue practicing Haki and wait in the Canyon of Gods. Toyulu continued to walk forward, walking alone on the vast sea. He knew that his next whereabouts would definitely be followed by Marine, but this was exactly what he hoped to see. Come on, The battle for the Valley of the Gods in the original work will become more intense in this world. The more powerful ones come, the better. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.